Chapter 3230. A Great Battle Against the Realm-Swallowing Beast. What is this? What incredible speed. I can't see it at all. The young geniuses that Lin Ling passed by all had their mouths agape. It's at least 90 world speed. One of the black-clothed women said with a frown. She was Yuro. Then, she waved her hands to create a barrier. She wanted to freeze time and see who was coming. However, it was useless. The speed of this person seemed to be faster than time. Awesome. At this moment, Lin Ling was running madly, surpassing many young geniuses in the 9 provinces. Not long after, 2 people finally appeared in front of them. One was Zilong, and the other was Yi Lingtian. They were actually the last ones to walk. Their speed was clearly the fastest among everyone present. However, the arrival of Lin Ling from behind immediately gave them a fright. Among so many young people this year, there was actually someone who could reach the speed of 90 realms. Who are you, sir? The purple dragon said angrily, as if the light that belonged to him had been snatched away by someone else. Someone you need to look up to. Lin Ling glanced at the 2 of them indifferently. The rain technique descended like a storm. The power of cultivation level was extremely terrifying. 120 world speed erupted. Then it turned into a beautiful afterimage and shot past the 2 of them. The 2 of them were dumbstruck. They looked at each other, only to see the shock in each other's eyes. Weren't they the strongest half-saints among the geniuses of the 9 prefectures? But who was this person who suddenly ran over? While they were still in disbelief, Lin Ling had already disappeared into the distance. If it were anyone else, they would need half a day to reach the end of this long journey. However, for Lin Ling, an hour was more than enough. With his current speed, if he wanted to travel through the eastern, western, southern, and southern realms, this would undoubtedly save a lot of time. At the same time, the surroundings began to change quietly. Ancient stone tablets floated in the void, as if they were rocks left behind by the gods. Lin Ling's eyes lit up. Activating his myriad mammoth magic eyes, he could vaguely make out a huge city wall up ahead. The city wall blocked off the path ahead, and within the city wall was a green jade bottle. The origin of life. Lin Ling's lips curled into a smile. However, he was also a little shocked. That wall was simply too huge. Only a martial ancestor-level expert could set up such a wall in the starry sky. Without any hesitation, Lin Ling shot forward. At the same time, in the void of the Great Change Nebula sect, the old men smiled. Amazing. In such a short time, someone actually reached the finish line. It seems like there are good seedlings among the geniuses of the 9 prefectures this time. I think it should be Purple Dragon. That guy has the desolate lightning physique, one of the 100 great bloodlines. Speed is his forte. Perhaps he's still hiding his strength in this assessment. You want to know his strength? Then release a stronger demonic beast. Finally, an old man said as he stroked his beard. Everyone nodded their heads. Although they couldn't see who was at the finish line, they guessed that it must be Purple Dragon. Okay, I've released it. After a while, another person said with a smile. His words made the old men look at him. When they saw the black bamboo slip in his hand, the old men's faces changed drastically. Elder Hu, don't tell me you've released that demonic beast. Yes, don't you want to see his strength? Oh my god, although that demonic beast is still in its growth stage, its strength is comparable to that of a second heaven sage. You're going to kill Purple Dragon. Ah, didn't you ask me to release it? What should we do now? What else can we do? I hope Purple Dragon can sense the aura of that demonic beast and leave the finish line immediately. Sighs could be heard one after another. At this moment, Lin Ling wasn't really vigilant at the finish line, because he'd heard that the dangers he encountered on the Starry Sky journey were at most at the peak of the half-saint realm. So, he was obviously not afraid of such strength. Therefore, he quickly went to the Spring of Life and collected the treasure. Then he turned around and left. However, the walls had turned pitch black all of a sudden. A strong murderous aura was emitted from the walls. When Lin Ling rushed forward, something strange happened. A huge mouth appeared and tried to swallow Lin Ling. The mouth was also pitch black. If one didn't look carefully, they would think it was a starry sky. However, Lin Ling reacted quickly. After his expression changed, he immediately burst out with speed and frantically retreated. Then he stared at the huge mouth and couldn't help but curse. Realm-devouring beast? Who the fuck said that there are only demonic beasts at the peak of the Sage-to-Be realm in the Starry Sky expedition? He was extremely depressed at the moment. He couldn't figure out what had happened. However, the realm-devouring beast didn't give Lin Ling time to think. It was like a black sea rolling and trying to swallow Lin Ling. Bastard! Lin Ling cursed angrily and unleashed his rain technique. Only then did he manage to avoid the gigantic mouth. He couldn't help but feel annoyed because the realm-devouring beast was immortal. For so many years, he had seen countless realm-devouring beasts, but he had only seen one corpse horror in Qingzhou's Grand Court Commandery. Rumble. The realm-devouring beast seemed determined to swallow Lin Ling obviously. It had sensed the ominous aura hidden in Lin Ling's body. Most importantly, the area within the wall was very small. Therefore, as time passed, Lin Ling became more and more dangerous. Oh no! At the same time, Lin Ling screamed because he had been sealed by the Black Sea. There was no way to escape. Instead, a huge mouth directly swallowed him whole. This was the first time he had been swallowed by the realm-devouring beast. Fight! Lin Ling was in the body of the realm-devouring beast. He let out a roar. He didn't die when he destroyed the god. How could he die in the mouth of the realm-devouring beast? Plus, was it the only realm-devouring beast? He used all of his godly demon body. He also used the talent of the realm-devouring beast to fight back. In the body of the realm-devouring beast, a mysterious black substance spread out. It seemed to be able to corrode any power. That was why the realm-devouring beast was so scary. However, after Lin Ling's realm-devouring beast burst out, the black substance ignored Lin Ling. It was as if it recognized Lin Ling's existence. Although Lin Ling didn't know why it was like that, at this moment, he would definitely fight back with all his might. The time and space tablet descended and smashed into the body of the realm-devouring beast. It caused the Black Sea to become even more turbulent. The tyrant song sword appeared, and Lin Ling kept slashing. The steps of the demon sword actually separated the Black Sea. But then Lin Ling discovered that in the Black Sea, there was something floating. Upon closer inspection, it was a calf-sized aphid. It was a product of the realm-devouring beast's body. It was said that it could refine and swallow everything. Chapter 32-31. Who would swallow who? Although Lin Ling had 120 world speed, he could not unleash this speed in the body of the realm-swallowing beast. At the critical moment, Lin Ling shouted, "1,000 transformations." Countless Lin Ling appeared, attracting the attention of the aphids. Using this opportunity, Lin Ling kept slashing with his sword, killing the aphids. However, there were too many aphids. There were still aphids entangling Lin Ling, and a sharp mouth pierced towards Lin Ling's body. This change was too sudden, and Lin Ling could not react in time. Dragon Bone. However, Lin Ling's pupils constricted, and a sharp light bloomed. Ka-ka-ka. Terrifying physical strength erupted, and the dragon bone formed a strong defense, blocking the sharp mouth. If the mouth entered Lin Ling's body, Lin Ling would be sucked clean. After blocking the sharp mouth, Lin Ling unleashed all his strength, and his 4 dantians merged with his body. Boom! A terrifying thing happened. The aphids, which were the size of calves, were crushed by Lin Ling. Smelly black blood splattered all over Lin Ling. The sword god is coming. At the same time, Lin Ling slashed with his sword, cutting all the aphids that tried to pounce on him in half. Using this opportunity, he rushed forward. The surrounding illusions were also swallowed by the aphids, and Lin Ling became more and more anxious. Slash! 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 At this moment, Lin Ling could only rush forward, cutting open the Black Sea. In the end, even little Kunlun appeared, forming a sharp vine array around Lin Ling, cutting everything. However, little Kunlun's appearance did not help much, because the surrounding Black Sea was swallowing little Kunlun. Obviously, Lin Ling had a fierce aura, so he was only afraid of the aphids. However, little Kunlun was not. Little Kunlun, come back now! Lin Ling made the call, and he had no choice but to use the catastrophe-destroying Sunbow. He had already made up his mind. If he could not get out of the world-swallowing beast's body, then he would risk his life to activate the true inheritance dark sword. Show! 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 The Black Sea was stirred up and scattered, revealing a large space. Suddenly, Lin Ling saw a black sarcoma in the center of the space. It was like a heart. Is this the heart of the realm-swallowing beast? Lin Ling's expression changed. He did not care whether he guessed it or not. He pounced on the sarcoma, and then he slashed. In an instant, the entire black ocean started to shake, and numerous cries of pain resounded. Lin Ling knew that he had made the right bet. We are both realm-swallowing beasts. If you want to swallow me, why don't I swallow you? Lin Ling's eyes turned cold. He chopped the black tumor into pieces and stuffed them all into his mouth. The taste was bloody, and Lin Ling almost vomited. But he knew that this was more precious than the corpse of the realm-swallowing beast, so he forced himself to swallow it. It had to be said that the sarcoma was disgusting, but the effect was very obvious. Lin Ling felt a mysterious power surging into his limbs and bones. It made the murderous aura move. Boom. He could not help it. It was as if something in his body had exploded. His whole body exploded. At the same time, in the Black Sea, a mud appeared. Its giant mouth was moving. It was a new one of the 4 great murderous beasts, the realm-swallowing beast. Shit, I have completely become a realm-swallowing beast. The scariest thing was that the realm-swallowing beast was speaking in human language. And he was Lin Ling. Looking at the Black Sea around him, he saw that it had dried up and turned into gray rocks. It was like the city wall that Lin Ling saw in Qing State's Grand Court County. This was the corpse of the realm-swallowing beast. I have become a realm-swallowing beast? Lin Ling was still in shock. Could it be that he was going to swallow 10,000 worlds, or even Jojo? After the shock, he could not help but feel happy. But thinking of the test, he knew that now was not the time to check on the realm-swallowing beast. How can I change back? Lin Ling muttered to himself. As if it knew what he was thinking, the black mud began to change. It turned into a human shape and gradually became Lin Ling's silhouette. I have returned to my original body. Lin Ling was suddenly happy. Looking at his naked body, he knew that the flesh and blood of this body had turned into that of the realm-swallowing beast, and the bones were dragon bones. Then he took out his clothes and put them on. He quickly left the place. When he was outside, he saw that the entire giant realm-swallowing beast had turned into rock. Realm-swallowing beast corpse horror. Lin Ling could not help but lick his lips. But after estimating the time, he reluctantly gave up on the corpse horror. Because he needed to collect the corpse horror. It would take some time. Moreover, he was afraid that he would be discovered by the Grand Change Nebula sect if he swallowed the realm-swallowing beast. So he burst out at full speed and rushed toward the exit. After half an hour, he finally saw the scattered people leaving toward the exit. This let Lin Ling know that he had finally made it. He slowed down and followed the crowd toward the exit. At the moment, under the Green Mountain, there was a lot of noise. Some people had obviously passed, and some had failed. Lin Ling. After seeing Lin Ling, a voice came from afar. It was Dream Flow. Seeing this, Lin Ling blinked and walked over in an extremely low-key manner. Did you get the token? Uncle He also walked over and looked at Lin Ling expectantly. Lin Ling immediately nodded. Haha, that's great. This also allows me to account to Senior Xing congratulations to the 3 of you for becoming citizens of the Yen State. The citizens of the Yen State have an outstanding status in the 9 states. With this status alone, other than the Yen State and the Miao State, no one in the 9 states would dare to provoke you. Even the Emperor God is no exception. Martial Uncle, he said with a smile. Then, he left after giving some instructions. It seemed like he had some matters to attend to. Thank you, Uncle He. Lin Ling and the others immediately bowed. They could tell that Uncle Master, he was taking good care of them for Xing Xian's sake. No need. Your master saved me once in the past. Today, I am repaying his kindness. Rest for a while. I will take care of everything for you. Uncle He replied faintly from afar. After he left, Sakura and Dream Flow winked at Lin Ling, and so did Lin Ling. How's the Star Stone? Hee, don't worry. We took a lot. We won't let you down. What about the Source of Life? Got it. After hearing Lin Ling's words, Sakura and Dream Flow were obviously excited. Dream Flow asked curiously, you surpassed Zilong and the others? You reached the end faster than them? Or did you get it during the battle? Those guys aren't much of a threat to me, but this is the end point. Speaking of this, Lin Ling was obviously angry. Grand Change Nebula sect is lying. This end is not a demonic beast of the half-step saint realm, but a demonic beast of the sage realm. A demonic beast of the sage realm? What is that? Sakura and Dream Flow were shocked. Realm-devouring beast. Chapter 32-32. New Heavenly Court. That's not true. The beast swallowed me, but I swallowed it instead. Lin Ling shook his head. Silence. Meng Lu and Meng Lu were dead silent. They looked at Lin Ling, as if they were looking at a monster. This guy even killed the realm-swallowing beast? That was too fierce. Congratulations, congratulations. You've crossed the 10,000 worlds and reached the end in 2 hours. You're indeed the #1 sage-to-be genius of the Yen state. At this moment, an old man with his hands behind his back walked out from the crowd with a smile on his face. Everyone was still immersed in the joy of passing the test, but after hearing those words, their expressions changed greatly. Could it be that the purple dragon had reached the end? One had to know that they were also transmigrating through the starry sky, but in the end, they didn't even touch the hair of the destination. As expected of Zilong. Everyone looked at Zilong. Unexpectedly, the other party's expression was extremely ugly. He said angrily, "Senior, I didn't go to the end." What? Hearing that, the old man's expression changed. He looked at Yi Lingtian and asked, "Did you escape from the mouth of the realm-swallowing beast?" "Senior, it wasn't me either." Yi Lingtian's expression also turned ugly. It felt as if this senior was teasing them. It was because they weren't #1 at all. Instead, they saw an arrogant person pass by in front of them and seize #1. Ah, the old man's expression changed again. Then he transmitted his voice, "Senior brothers, please go to the finish line and take a look. I think the #1 mystery chaser is in trouble." As soon as the voice was transmitted, the old men in the void also sensed that something was wrong. Could the mysterious #1 have been swallowed by the realm-swallowing beast? They hurriedly rushed into the starry sky, and a moment later, they appeared at the end. Then, all of them fell silent, because an enormous corpse terror had appeared there. Did someone kill the realm-swallowing beast? Isn't the truth right in front of us? Do you still need us to explain? Although the realm-swallowing beast at the end is immature, it is still not something a half-step saint can handle. Yes, the realm-swallowing beast's immortal body is very famous in the 10,000 realms. The hearts of the old men began to race. Suddenly, they were filled with curiosity about the person who had killed the realm-swallowing beast. When the news spread, the old man's expression changed drastically, and he swept his gaze towards all the young geniuses, as if he wanted to see through all of them. His gaze naturally went past Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling trio concealed themselves very well, resulting in the old man only giving them a cursory glance. In the end, the elder shook his head helplessly. There were too many people, and he couldn't find that ferocious person. However, as long as this powerful man entered the Grand Change Nebula sect, he would be discovered sooner or later. Therefore, he was not in a hurry. Next, he was going to arrange positions for the young geniuses in the Great Change Nebula sect. But at this moment, a whistling sound came from the sky, and a large number of people appeared in the sky. The young man in the lead wore a green robe, had a sword on his back, and stood on a golden flying dragon as he looked down at the ground below. Sir Filong of the Heavenly Court. The young man glanced at the group of young men in disdain before bowing to the old man. Heavenly Court? The old man immediately frowned. Among the crowd, Lin Ling Trio's expressions changed, and they immediately calmed down. They didn't expect the Heavenly Court to not be destroyed, and they had even found the Great Change Nebula sect. Could it be that martial god Wen Tian knew where they were? However, it was apparent that they were overthinking. Although the Heavenly Court was destroyed, Master didn't want martial god Qilin to waste his life's efforts. So he rebuilt the Heavenly Court. The young man said proudly, and the old man nodded his head. With martial god Wen Tian's influence, it was not difficult for him to rebuild the Heavenly Court. This also meant that the Heavenly Court was actually destroyed. These people were from the new Heavenly Court. Then, may I know why you're here? The old man said expressionlessly. We're looking for the son of the demon, young beast, Yi Shui, and Yi Linyun. I hope you can inform them when you see them. Master will reward them handsomely. The young man said indifferently. I've never seen them before. The old man's face turned even colder. This young man was only a martial sage. Although he might be powerful, his words were too arrogant. I'm sorry, I'm just doing my job. Since you've never seen them before, we'll have to look for them ourselves. Please forgive us if we've offended you. The young man shook his head and said helplessly. How dare you? The old man shouted angrily. Martial god Wen Tian. To everyone's surprise, the young man was not afraid at all. Instead, he took a step forward. Although the Great Change Nebula sect was famous in the Yen state, the sect leader was only a martial progenitor. He was no match for Marshal Godwin Tion. Dong! At that moment, a bell suddenly rang in the endless green mountains. Pft! The people of the heavenly court spat out mouthfuls of blood, and their faces changed greatly. The golden dragon beneath the young man in the lead started to tremble. After all, this was a dragon god from the dragon clan. If you want them, let Marshal Godwin Tion do it himself. Old man. From the green mountains, an old voice with endless majesty quietly sounded. Hearing this, the heavenly court's faces turned pale. The young man in the lead hurriedly transmitted his voice and seemed to have received a reply. He immediately smiled apologetically and said, "Senior, we're not sure that those people are in the Great Change Nebula sect. We're just casually checking. However, we're sure that those people are definitely not here. Since you're so sincere in apologizing, I'll let bygones be bygones. However, I'd like to remind Marshal Godwin Tion that those people might be in the myriad of worlds. You should look for them there." The Green Mountains spoke again. "Thank you, Senior." The people of the heavenly court quickly left. Seeing this, Lin Ling and the others finally heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they were hiding in the Great Change Nebula sect. If they were anywhere else, no one would be able to stop the heavenly court's plundering. Now that the people of the heavenly court had left, they would not be able to guess that they were in the Yen state in the short term. "I hope young Master Yao and the others can escape this round," Lin Ling said to himself. His gaze swept across and suddenly fell on a young man. This young man was Yiling Tian. He was obviously also exhaling a sigh of relief. This was because his elder brother was Yi Lingyun, one of the people wanted by the martial god. "All right, don't take what happened before to heart. The heavenly court is just here to go through the motions. Next, I'll arrange for everyone to enter the Great Change Nebula sect and announce your positions." The old man also looked at the crowd. "Position? Senior, what's the position?" someone asked curiously. Chapter 32-33. Position. I understand. Everyone nodded their heads one after another, but they still couldn't let it go. It should be known that in the 9 prefectures, each and every one of them was an extremely powerful existence. It would not be difficult for them to become god emperors. But now, they had to work for someone else. This made them feel somewhat embarrassed. Setbacks are necessary if you want to obtain the martial ancestors' Tao discussion. Only a mediocre person would care about such things. Of course, there were also people who were not afraid to work for the Grand Change Nebula sect. "All right, after I tell you my name, you can walk out yourselves. Su Pengfei, Su Yuan, Demon Army Son of Heaven, Tai Wu Zun, go to the back of the mountain to feed the demon beasts." "Ah, we feed demonic beasts? Senior, with our status, we can only eat demonic beasts." "How dare you? Do you think the demonic beasts of the Grand Change Nebula sect are ordinary demonic beasts? Let me tell you, those demonic beasts are extremely powerful. They are the seeds of the divine era. Each and every one of them can easily devour all of you. Also, are you going or not? Go, go, go. All right, next, Fairy Shui Hai, Tong Tsai Lu Man, go to Eastern Mountain to plant the Earth Spirit." Senior, what is an Earth Spirit? It's a kind of natural treasure. To put it bluntly, it's to plant it. Ah, farming? Obviously, although the people present here had strong backgrounds, they were very ordinary in the Great Change Nebula sect. Everything was done by someone else. In this land full of miracles, there was nothing impossible. However, people also noticed that the talented and powerful young geniuses were given very good positions. For example, a person who was given the position of cleaning a martial arts training ground was obviously a good job. The other one was accompanying a martial progenitor realm elder as his servant. What a great job. This made many people envious and jealous. However, those people were not weak at all. Therefore, there was nothing they could do. "Motherfucker, I'll leave this godforsaken place as soon as I'm done with this." Knowing that he had to work, Sakra's expression also turned unusually ugly. On the other hand, Lin Ling didn't care. However, it was soon time to read the names of Lin Ling and the other 2. Their positions were to accompany Martial Uncle, he to watch over the Western Mountains. Obviously, this was another great job. Basically, it was absolutely a great job to follow the seniors of the Grand Change Nebula. For a moment, everyone was even more envious. When they saw that it was Lin Ling and the other 2, their eyes turned even redder. "Wow, I'm envious." Even Xia Tianyi walked over with 3 small bags on her head and a smile on her face. When they saw him, Lin Ling and the others did not dare to look him in the eye. They could only laugh dryly. The old man finally spoke. "What do you want to say?" The old man looked at him coldly, causing the young man to stutter. He didn't dare to speak for a while. "Go ahead, Sixth Spectre Venerable. What you said is actually what everyone wants to say." However, many people were supporting the young man. The young man finally raised his head and looked at Lin Ling and the other two. He said, "The three of them only have a fifth-grade desolate body. Their cultivation has just reached the fifth heaven of the half-saint realm. I think they should be given some positions. Am I right?" Yes. Everyone agreed immediately. In fact, they weren't targeting Lin Ling and the other two. They just wanted to let Lin Ling and the other two get off to a good start. As long as Lin Ling and the other three handed over their positions, they could snatch the other good positions. Do you know who the three of them are? The old man guessed their thoughts. Their master used to be a member of the Grand Change Nebula sect. In other words, they are half a member of the Grand Change Nebula sect. Do you agree? When their master was working for the Grand Change Nebula sect, you didn't even know where they were. The Grand Change Nebula sect is the fairest. Their master left behind the karma, and they took the karma. Everyone was silent when they heard that. Lin Ling and the other two finally understood that it was Martial Uncle He who had helped them. Although they couldn't refute him, they wouldn't give up easily. "Senior, why don't we do it this way? Let's use strength to determine the winner. Look at some of the talented geniuses from before. They all got good positions. We're convinced of that. However, if those geniuses want to get good positions, they'll have to go through everyone's challenge." The young man said again, "Yes, Senior. The Grand Change Nebula sect doesn't raise useless people. We are from various forces in the 9 states. How can we be willing to be inferior to useless people? Senior, please make an exception for us." Voices drifted out from the Green Mountain one after another. Seeing that, the old man frowned. He glanced at the young men who were assigned positions but had average talents. Those young men were also frowning. They were obviously unhappy, but they didn't dare to say anything. Finally, the old man looked at Lin Ling and the other two and said, "What do you think?" "Senior, I'm here to learn martial arts. I don't want to challenge you. I don't like fighting." Of course, Lin Ling wouldn't agree. It was better to have less trouble than more trouble. "Hee hee, you're afraid. Boy, where are you from? Who is your master?" "I'm the 6 demons' honored son of the Divine Weapon Mansion. If you don't dare to fight, apologize in the name of your master, and I'll let it go." Seeing Lin Ling shaking his head, the young man said indifferently. He was trying to provoke him. Lin Ling sneered when he heard that. Although he wanted to keep a low profile, the young man deliberately used the Constellation Nebula. Although he was trying to provoke him, Lin Ling couldn't help it. "Are you sure you want to fight with me?" "That's right. You can use any weapon. I'll take it. If you're afraid, apologize in the name of your master." Seeing that Lin Ling had relented, the young man smiled proudly. He was afraid that Lin Ling was spineless. Now that Lin Ling had shown his unyielding character, it was great. "I'm afraid that you're not a match for me." Lin Ling finally walked out. The crowd immediately roared with laughter. The 6 demons' honored son had a 7th-grade desolate body and was at the 7th layer of the half-saint realm. He was the Divine Weapon Mansion's bodyguard and was very famous in the land of the 9 continents. No one knew Lin Ling. He only had a 5th-grade desolate body and was at the 5th layer of the half-saint realm. How could he be so arrogant? Moreover, even some of the good-looking women were disgusted by Lin Ling. At the beginning, they sympathized with Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling said that the young man was not a match for him. This kind of arrogance was undoubtedly the most shameful. He really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Chapter 32-34. What a stunning punch. "Come out!" The 6 fiend saints stepped into the Green Mountain. Moreover, with every step he took, he released a powerful desolate physique aura. A black rock snake slithered out from under his feet. It opened its mouth angrily, and a wave of ferocious aura surged out like a weak tide. It was the rock god's bloodline, one of the 100 bloodlines. The cultivation of the 7th level of the half-saint realm had arrived. Apparently, he wanted to show Lin Ling the difference between the two of them. After all, his goal was to get the position. He did not want to offend a senior from the Great Simplicity Nebula sect. "You are so weak. However, Lin Ling also walked out. He stared at the Six Reaper Honorable and shook his head in disdain. A simple sentence immediately caused even more people to be dissatisfied. Although the Six Reaper Honorable was not the most powerful person present, the strength that he had displayed earlier had won everyone's respect. However, Lin Ling only knew how to brag. If their master had not been a member of the Great Simplicity Nebula sect, they would have scolded him. Humph! The Six Reaper Honorable snorted coldly. He was a proud person who had come to the Yen state. He had never been looked down upon like this before. Six Reaper Honorable, we support you. Yes. But soon, many voices rose up from beneath the Green Mountain, causing Six Demon Venerable to nod. Then, he turned into a cold beam of light that shot towards Lin Ling. If a martial artist's perception was strong, they would be able to see that this was like a snake attacking, incomparably fast. Moreover, the seniors of the Great Simplicity Nebula sect could see that the Six Reaper Honorable was covered in a gray rock armor. It was formed by his talent. It was extremely powerful. Even Lin Ling's eyes lit up. The desolate body is not bad. However, the most important thing is that this guy's rank strength is extraordinary. He can attack and defend, and has reached 70% of his rank strength. Yes, the Six Reaper Honorable was much stronger than the Half-Saint Realm experts that Lin Ling had seen before. Everyone was looking at Lin Ling. They didn't know how Lin Ling, who was only at the 5th layer of the Half-Saint Realm, would fight back against the Six Demon Venerable. This was especially true for the geniuses with great backgrounds. They began to assess the situation and realized that the only way to deal with Six Spectre Venerable's fatal blow was to retreat. However, doing so would weaken their momentum, and they would have to face Six Spectre Venerable's storm of attacks. However, Lin Ling finally made his move. He did not retreat, nor did he use any martial arts. He stretched out his left hand and clenched it into a fist. Then he lightly punched out. The fist collided with the rock snake in an instant, causing the air to explode and the Green Mountain to reverberate incessantly. Looking at Lin Ling again, he was still standing there like a pine tree. Everyone's pupils immediately trembled violently. So strong. The Six Demons Venerable's complexion also changed slightly. He had discovered that Lin Ling's innate talent was fire attribute after he had exchanged a blow with Lin Ling. It didn't seem very strong on the surface, but the density of his boundary essence was beyond his imagination. It didn't seem like a 5th-level half-saint at all. Again, of course, the 9 prefectures' geniuses who could appear here naturally wouldn't be easily defeated. The Six Demons Venerable slithered like a snake, causing a huge gray whirlpool. Upon closer inspection, it was a rock whirlpool. Although you have some ability, I have the rock god's bloodline. My defense is extremely strong, so I might not be able to defeat you in one move. However, after 10 or 100 moves, you will definitely reveal your flaws. In the air, the ferocious aura was extremely terrifying. A fatal blow appeared behind Lin Ling and shot towards Lin Ling. Bang! A dull sound was heard. What everyone expected did not happen. Instead, Lin Ling did not even look behind him. He lightly punched out and blocked the fatal blow once again. How is this possible? This time, it was impossible for people not to be shocked. One had to know that not many people in the late stage of the Half-Saint Realm would dare to easily receive a blow from the Six Demons Venerable. If one encountered a warrior with a desolate body below the 5th grade, even a peak half-saint would lose to the Six Demons Venerable. Bang! 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 However, nothing was impossible for Lin Ling facing the Six Demons Venerable's attacks. Lin Ling had blocked all of them. The Six Demons Venerable even saw Lin Ling block his attacks with one hand behind his back. Is the Six Demons Venerable going to be defeated? Many people exclaimed secretly. In fact, even the Six Demons Venerable was secretly feeling uneasy. Oh no, what is this person's strength? Why can't I take him down even though my talent and cultivation level are higher than his? Most importantly, I have 70% of my cultivation level power. Lin Ling spoke at this moment. You have made so many moves previously. It should be my turn now. I will defeat you with one punch. Lin Ling retracted his left fist as though it was an arrow that was about to leave the bow. Not good. Although Lin Ling looked very ordinary and his realm essence was not turbulent, the Six Demons Venerable did not dare to underestimate him. Suddenly, gray rocks appeared all over his body and he turned into an ancient divine mountain. Defeat him with one punch? That's impossible. Many people were shaking their heads, but they couldn't be sure because they had all witnessed Lin Ling's miraculous feats before. At the same time, Lin Ling also threw out a punch. However, it was like an arrow that was shot out from a bow. At the beginning, there was fire elemental boundary energy spreading out. However, when it got close to the gray rock, a terrifying thing finally happened. An incomparably ferocious aura erupted like a ferocious beast. This made Lin Ling's punch faster and more powerful. The combination of his physical strength and the four dantians formed a punch that could destroy 10,000 worlds. Boom! The gray rocks were shaken by the punch. Inside the rocks, the six demons' venerable's expression changed drastically. He felt an unparalleled force colliding with his body. He could not resist at all. This was not the strength of a half-step saint, but the strength of a saint. Ka! 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 Cracks began to appear on the gray rocks. Then, a figure flew out and smashed into the green hills in the distance, causing the hills to shake. Under the green hills, there was a dead silence. Everyone was dumbfounded. They never thought that Lin Ling, who was only a half-step saint, would win in such an easy way. He defeated the six demons venerable with only one arm. Even the eyes of the seniors of the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect flickered. Previously, Lin Ling had burst out with ferocious aura. Could it be that he had practiced a technique related to ferocious aura? Or, could it be that he was hiding some other talent that was related to ferocious aura? Most importantly, they did not understand why Lin Ling's punch was so powerful. Could it be the strength of his physical body? But during the assessment of the glazed ball, this guy only had the talent of fire element, right? Who else is not convinced? At this moment, under the green hills, Lin Ling glanced at the crowd and said indifferently, but no one spoke. Everyone was silent. The reason was that the six demons venerable was ranked among the top. Now that he had been defeated, it was meaningless for others to challenge him. Most importantly, Lin Ling had defeated the six demons venerable with only one arm. Perhaps his full strength was in that arm, or perhaps he did not use his full strength at all. Chapter 32-35. The Tai Martial Ancestor. Lin Ling did not use his full strength. Otherwise, the Six Reaper-honored master would not have been defeated so easily. Seeing that no one answered him, Lin Ling turned around and left. He glanced at the Six Reaper-honored master and said, I have said that you will not be able to withstand a single blow from me unless you reach the peak of the Sage-to-Be realm. The Six Reaper-honored master spat out a mouthful of blood, and his eyes turned gray. He had been able to come to the flame state because of his strength. He had developed an arrogant character. Now his arrogance had been suppressed by Sumo. Indeed, in the continent of miracles, miracles were born all the time. The Green Mountain was silent. Only Meng Lu and the rest smiled. They were not surprised by the outcome. In fact, if they had gone up against Sumo, they would have won too. However, they would not have won as easily and beautifully as Lin Ling. Is there anyone else who wants to challenge him? The old man asked. However, after the incident with Lin Ling, everyone was much more cautious and fell silent for a moment. This caused those who had been given good positions, but were not powerful, to look at Lin Ling gratefully. Since there is no one else, please follow me in. In the end, the old man led everyone into the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. Wow, I did not expect you to be so powerful. Xia Tianyi followed Lin Ling and looked at Lin Ling as if it was the first time she had met him. She looked at Lin Ling from head to toe. Lin Ling smiled and said, I was just lucky. Lin Ling felt guilty for attacking Xia Tianyi 3 times and knocking her out. If he had the chance, he would like to make it up to her. Hee, congratulations, congratulations. After entering the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect, Martial Uncle he walked over and led Lin Ling and the rest forward. They had been assigned to guard the West Mountain. This area was relatively remote, and there were many demonic beasts. Moreover, they were all the seeds of deities. Lin Ling and the other 2 followed Martial Uncle he to live on top of a mountain peak. There was an ancient stone sword stabbed into the mountain peak. This sword was extraordinary and could intimidate all the demonic beasts. As for guarding, there was nothing to guard. To put it bluntly, it was indeed a good job. This good job used to belong to your master. After he left, it was left to me. Since you are here, you can see where your master grew up. Martial Uncle he looked at Lin Ling and the rest and started introducing the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. However, Lin Ling and the others were here to seek refuge. They did not plan to stay here for too long, so they quickly dealt with the situation. At night, Uncle Master he left. Lin Ling and the other two stayed in the small house at the top of the mountain. Looking at the moon in the sky, they realized that the Yen state seemed to be closer to the moon. Even the sky was filled with the aura of a god. What a clean sky! The miracle mainland, the godly mainland, is indeed extraordinary, Meng Lu and Sakura said. Lin Ling smiled, and then took out the spring of life. Meng Lu and the rest also took out a large number of star stones. To Lin Ling's surprise, the amount of star stones Meng Lu and the rest had plundered was beyond his imagination. Equally, the three of them looked at each other and were all excited. Lin Ling asked for the most star stones, so he gave out more spring of life. After dividing the treasures, the three of them began to cultivate. Although they were safe now, no one could guarantee when the heavenly court would find them. Therefore, improving their strength was the most important thing. After Lin Ling entered the house, he immediately sat down cross-legged. Just as he was about to cultivate, he found that the moonlight shone through the window and a large number of words were written on the wall. Work hard. It was a very simple word, but it covered the entire room. Is this written by Master? Lin Ling's eyes flashed. Finally, he saw a line of words in the corner of the house. It turned out that Xing Xiu Yun used to be a very ordinary person in the Grand Change Nebula sect. However, he made a great contribution during the demonic beast tide and was praised by his master. Then he was specially trained. At that time, Xing Xiu Yun went from an unknown existence to a meteoric rise. However, during an extremely important mission, Xing Xiu Yun disappointed Master. He was defeated and returned. Since then, he suffered a disastrous decline. In the end, he left the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect in disappointment. I didn't expect Master to have such a story in the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. Lin Ling thought to himself. Suddenly, he was curious about the sect leader of the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. Of course, he didn't think too much about it and quickly cultivated. The heart of the realm-devouring beast that he had obtained in the starry sky was now being refined by Lin Ling. The ferocious aura on his body became more intense. He could transform into the realm-devouring beast. His physical strength was also increasing crazily. In the end, it increased to the power of 800 worlds. His speed also reached the speed of 90 worlds. If he used the rain technique, he could reach the speed of 140 worlds. As for the talent of the realm-devouring beast, it had entered the 9th grade. Apparently, the talent of devouring its own kind was really terrifying. This made Lin Ling happy. Immediately, he started cultivating again. This time, he was refining the star stone, which was a material for forging supreme weapons. Lin Ling operated the Chaos Divine formula and forcibly refined it. He let this force flow into his bones. His dragon bone was also increasing crazily. His dragon dantian had also reached the 7th grade wild body. During this process, because of the nourishment of the two treasures, Lin Ling's cultivation had also entered the 6th stage of the half-saint realm. Moreover, the boundary essence of the 4 major dantians was extremely complete. Looking at Sakura and the others, their strength had also increased greatly. Moreover, the 3 of them had come here to lie low. Therefore, they rarely walked around the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. This made many people feel strange. After all, who didn't come here to have a discussion with the martial ancestor? However, the people didn't pay much attention to them. Gradually, they forgot about Lin Ling and the other 2. On the contrary, the higher-ups of the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect seemed to be looking for something. The glazed ball emitted 15 rays of light? A 5th grade wild body? Nonsense. How can there be a 5th grade wild body in this world? This kid has other talents. That's why he can shine so brightly. After an old man heard the news from the elders, he let out a laugh. The old man sat under an ancient tree. The fruits on the ancient tree shone like stars, making him look like a god descending. His eyebrows were very long, reaching the ground. He looked like an immortal. He was the Grand Simplicity martial ancestor. He was also the current sect leader of the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. Moreover, there's something even more terrifying. The realm-devouring beast was actually killed. Another elder said. His tone was filled with shock. Amazing. It would be great if this kid was in our Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. However, there's no need for everyone to look for him. He will surface sooner or later. The old man's eyes lit up. He nodded his head in appreciation and said, "All of you can leave first." Everyone hurriedly bowed and took their leave. Chapter 32-36. Broken Bone Demon Elephant. Looks like Xing Xian's disciple is only SO. He was obviously very disappointed. Although he had taken in many disciples in his life, there were very few who could become his last disciple. In the past, Xing Xian was lucky enough to catch his eye and become one of his last disciples. However, Xing Xian failed in a major mission and declined from then on, leaving Grand Change Nebula sect. He felt very uncomfortable about this. He had never blamed Xing Xian. As long as it was his last disciple, he would treat them with importance. Who knew that although he didn't care, Xing Xian would feel inferior. This was also why Xing Xian didn't dare to return to Yen's state for so many years. Even if he was lucky enough to come back, it was in secret and he didn't dare to meet him. This inferiority complex seemed to have been passed on to his 3 disciples. On the path of martial arts, with such a personality, it would be difficult for them to go further. Therefore, he didn't pay much attention to Xing Xian's 3 disciples. The days passed quietly just like that. Lin Ling and the other 2 were still cultivating in seclusion. It was quite relaxing. Of course, during this period, there were also people who came to provoke them. Because Lin Ling's stunning punch not long ago had actually made many 9 states youths unhappy. They had been cultivating hard in the sect, and their strength had increased greatly. Therefore, they came to look for Lin Ling to get back at him. However, when Lin Ling and the other 2 were about to kick them out, someone stopped them first. The appearance of that person made those who wanted to provoke them leave with their tails between their legs. Then, that person also left. This made Lin Ling and the other 2 curious. Who exactly was helping them secretly? Of course, they guessed that the person who helped them secretly was Xia Tianyi. Regarding this, they didn't pay much attention. Because if they really wanted to provoke them, the unlucky ones would be those who overestimated themselves. After that, the days were still peaceful. Di Tian and Meng Lu's strength had increased by leaps and bounds. They had reached the 8th stage of the half-sage realm. This was because of the spring of life and the treasures hidden in the West Mountain. In terms of combat strength, they could fight against a first stage of the Sage realm. This was because Lin Ling had used the Star Stone to reforge their weapons. As for Lin Ling, he had used up all his spring of life and only reached the 7th stage of the half-sage realm. This made him sigh, because among the 3 of them, he had used up the most treasures, but his realm improvement was the slowest. At the end of the day, it was because he had 4 dantians. However, his physical strength and soul force had improved greatly. If he could reach the late half-saint realm, he would be able to open his 5th dantian. Lin Ling was looking forward to it. Rumble. On this day, the ancient forest of the West Mountain suddenly rumbled, shaking a large number of ancient trees. The aura's aura, as if it was a battle. Translators Xianzas, Meng Lu, Mengs, and Meng Lu, what's happened? Someone is killing demonic beasts in the forest. How bold. Most of the demonic beasts in the forest are in the growth stage. They are also the seeds of the gods. Their strength is comparable to the sage realm. Even we don't dare to enter the forest. During this period of time, Lin Ling and Meng Lu had become familiar with the ancient forest. That was why they were surprised by the person's courage. Because even Martial Uncle, he didn't dare to enter the ancient forest. Martial Uncle, he rarely appears here. Second brother, what should we do now? Di Tian looked at Lin Ling and said, "Let's go and take a look." Lin Ling finally made up his mind. The 3 of them descended from the mountain peak and dashed into the ancient forest. The ancient forest was an existence that was comparable to the ancient forbidden forest. However, it was not as mysterious as the ancient forbidden forest. Therefore, the 3 of them were extremely cautious. Following the sound, a deafening sound came from the front. Roar! The sound was so terrifying that it made Lin Ling and the other 2's blood boil. Their dantians became unstable, especially their bones, which emitted an indescribable pain. What is that sound? Di Tian sucked in a breath of cold air. They were considered people who had explored many miracles, but this was the first time they heard such a fierce sound. Quickly, sink your chi into your dantian and seal your ears with boundary essence. Only hear the sound within 100 meters. Lin Ling said solemnly. Di Tian and the other 2 hurriedly did as they were told. Only then did the sound's influence weaken. The 3 of them looked at each other and didn't dare to increase their speed. Instead, they moved forward cautiously. Not long later, strong winds filled the sky in front of them. Sand and stones flew everywhere. The ancient tree that was surrounded by several people was now tumbling in the sky like straw. A huge black ancient elephant appeared in front of them. This ancient elephant was incomparably ferocious. Its two tusks were like two shining blades. Moreover, the ancient elephant's body was covered with thick hair. When it moved its legs, it was as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. Second brother, what the hell is this? Disher Tion was frightened by the ancient elephant's ferocious aura. Bone-shattering demonic elephant, and it's in the growth stage. Lin Ling's expression changed drastically. That huge black ancient elephant was the seed of gods. Master's uncle he once said that this bone-shattering demonic elephant was also a tyrant of the ancient forest. Bone-shattering, bone-shattering. No wonder its sound made our bones uncomfortable. Meng Lu's eyes were filled with solemnity. The seed of gods was a mature body. This was obviously not something they could fight against. One had to know that the realm-swallowing beast was also a seed of gods and one of the 4 most ferocious creatures in the universe. However, even if it was an immature body, it wasn't something that ordinary people could kill. Not to mention a mature body. There are people over there. Lin Ling's gaze also looked to the other side. He saw more than a dozen figures distributed around the ancient elephant. From time to time, they would attack the ancient elephant, causing it to roar. It turned out to be them. Are these guys crazy? Disher Tion frowned and said. At the same time, he also noticed that this group of guys were only in the half-sage realm. They have many people and their methods are extraordinary. Although it's dangerous, they won't be swept away by the bone-shattering demonic elephant. Lin Ling activated his myriad elephant demon eyes and saw everything clearly. This bone-shattering demonic elephant's body is a treasure. Their goal should be to kill the demonic elephant. However, they don't seem to be from the Grand Change Nebula sect. Meng Lu said as he looked expectantly at Lin Ling. Lin Ling smiled. He knew what Meng Lu was thinking. He nodded and said, "Let's wait and see." Rumble. The warriors in front were indeed very strong. None of them had a desolate body lower than a 5th grade. Under their full strength, they caused the bone-shattering demonic elephant to roar angrily. It also suffered some injuries, especially a thin youth. His methods were the most ruthless. Every time he attacked, large amounts of flesh and blood would be torn from the bone-shattering demonic elephant. However, the bone-shattering demonic elephant also began to stare at the youth. It took a step forward and pounced over. "Wangu Wuji, be careful." The others shouted anxiously. At the same time, the bone-shattering demonic elephant's gigantic trunk swept out ruthlessly. If it was placed in the myriad worlds, it would probably be able to easily destroy the myriad worlds. And at this moment, the thin youth narrowed his eyes. His left eye began to emit a purple glow as a wisp of savage aura emanated out. The surrounding space quietly turned blood red. Chapter 32-37. Snatching the prey. Rumble, 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 rumble. Amidst the dust, Lin Ling could clearly see that the thin young man was fine. He was only slightly injured. After all, a fully grown bone-shattering devil elephant was capable of annihilating an initial-stage Saint Realm expert. He's a terrifying genius. Lin Ling couldn't help but be shocked. Wangu? Is he from the Wangu clan? That's the #1 clan in the Yen state. Meng Lu was also secretly impressed. He finally understood that there was always someone stronger. Rumble. Although the demonic elephant was injured, its demonic nature was even more violent as it pounced on the thin young man. The young man's expression changed slightly. He raised his evil eyes and stared at the huge monster in front of him. He was slightly injured and his realm essence was greatly consumed. He couldn't fight the demonic elephant head-on. "Wangu Wuji, let us help you. Go!" The others attacked one after another, but the bone-shattering demonic elephant ignored them and wanted to kill the young man. Moreover, everyone's attacks were only harassment and restraint. They couldn't do much. Roar. On the contrary, after the bone-shattering demonic elephant roared, everyone felt pain in their bones. Desolate God. Desolate God. At the same time, the young man let out a cold voice. The surroundings turned blood red again. A huge claw descended and collided with the huge nose again. Without any suspense, the young man was sent flying again, and the bone-shattering demonic elephant was also heavily injured. This shocked Sakura and the others. What a powerful half-step saint. The young man was entangled by the demonic elephant, so he could only use all his strength. He was at the peak of the half-step saint realm, so he wasn't killed by the demonic elephant immediately. But it was only a matter of time. Finally, the bone-shattering demonic elephant appeared in front of him, and its 2 huge feet were raised high. Blood flowed from the corner of the young man's mouth. For a moment, he couldn't resist. Many exclamations came from all around. The others wanted to help, but they couldn't. But in a flash, arrows shot over. 4 arrows in a row. Clang, clang, clang. These arrows were extremely tricky. They actually hit the bone-shattering demonic elephant's left eye. At first, the first arrow didn't have much effect, but as the other 3 arrows arrived, they actually blinded the demonic elephant's left eye, causing blood to spurt out. Everyone was stunned. The young man named Wangu Wuji sucked in a breath of cold air. Roar! The demonic elephant's left eye was blinded. It became even more violent and began to wreak havoc. However, it could not find the culprit. Far away from the ancient forest, Lin Ling frowned. What a thick-skinned beast. He was the one who had shot the arrow earlier. He had already fired 4 arrows from the great sun calamity-destroying bow, and they were all aimed at the demonic elephant's weak points. However, he still couldn't kill the demonic elephant. One could imagine that if these arrows were shot at the demonic elephant, the effect would be even weaker. At this moment, the devil mammoth was even crazier. With a sweep of its huge trunk, many people around it died. The young man named Wangu Wuji had also recovered some of his strength. Suddenly, a claw descended and landed on the demonic elephant's nose. The demonic elephant's nose had already been injured, and now, the wound was torn open again, causing blood to spurt out. Of course, fighting the bone-shattering demonic elephant was a matter of killing 1,000 enemies, but suffering 800 casualties. Therefore, the young man was also swept by the demonic elephant's attack, causing him to spit out blood. Most importantly, in the next moment, the demonic elephant raised its legs high, wanting to trample the young man to death. However, at this moment, a huge white skeleton arrived. Moreover, the aura of the ancient gravekeeper race also arrived. Sakura and Meng Lu made their move. Both of them attacked the demonic elephant's wound crazily. The demonic elephant's blood continued to spurt out. After a furious roar, it finally gave up on the skinny young man and fled into the depths of the ancient forest. Sakura and Meng Lu wouldn't let their prey go. With a roar, they chased after it. Above everyone's heads, a figure flashed past at a terrifying speed. It was Lin Ling, and he was also chasing after the demonic elephant. In the ancient forest, all the people who had been there were stunned. Thinking back to the previous scene, they still felt their hearts tremble with fear. Wangu Wuji, someone is interfering with our prey. All of a sudden, a young man said coldly. His strength was only below Wangu Wuji's. The moment his words fell, everyone's faces turned cold. It's not that they are interfering with our prey. If it weren't for them, we would have been completely wiped out. However, Wangu Wuji also shook his head. If we hadn't been fighting with the bone-shattering demonic elephant for so long, they wouldn't have been able to deal with it with their strength. Therefore, they are taking advantage of us. That's right. Let's chase after it and take a look. The demonic elephant is at its weakest right now. Everyone looked at each other. Unwilling to let their prey be snatched away, they also chased after it. As for Wangu Wuji, he pondered for a moment before chasing after it. At this moment, the ancient forest was being overturned. A huge demonic elephant was running through it. Even though it was injured, its speed wasn't slow at all. Big brother, stop it. Meng Lu, attack its wound. Lin Ling's voice floated out from behind them. All right. Hearing that, the two of them gave it their all. Sakura appeared in front of the demonic elephant, attempting to block its path. On the other hand, Meng Lu continuously attacked the demonic elephant's wound, causing the ground to be dyed red with blood. With life and death approaching, the demonic elephant became even more frenzied, causing Sakura, who was at the front, to be in extreme danger. However, Sakura didn't retreat. He turned into a white-boned giant with a long halberd in his hand, giving off an imposing aura. Roar! The demonic elephant's huge feet were raised high. If it stomped down, it would probably crush Sakura's bones. Rumble! However, Sakura also roared and waved his halberd. In midair, he blocked those 2 huge feet. Second brother, I can't block it anymore. At the same time, cracks began to appear on his white bones. Swoosh! Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, the 4 arrows finally arrived. With the protection of the heavenly dragon, the dragon god roared. With Sakra's obstruction, coupled with Meng Lu's harassment, this time, the bone-shattering demonic elephant had obviously missed Lin Ling. Those 4 arrows, without missing, all shot into the demonic elephant's right eye. The huge demonic elephant trembled and made a weak sound, finally collapsing like a mountain. Rumble! At this moment, the ancient forest seemed to be stirred up. The momentum was extremely terrifying. Success! Lin Ling's body finally appeared. He looked at Sakra and smiled. This demonic elephant was full of treasures. They had profited. Next, Lin Ling and the other 2 didn't immediately take away the prey. Instead, they sat on the huge demonic elephant and waited for the people to come. Because they knew that to take away the prey, it would take a certain amount of time, and the group of people from before definitely wouldn't give them this time. Therefore, Lin Ling and the rest waited for the other party to arrive. Not long after, the group of people finally arrived. When they saw the huge demonic elephant, their expressions changed drastically. In the end, their surprised gazes also fell on the 3 young men on the demonic elephant. The 3 young men were sitting extremely lazily and drinking wine. After noticing the arrival of the people, they narrowed their eyes and said indifferently, "You're finally here. We want 2/3 of this demonic elephant." Chapter 32-38. Compromise. 2/3? There are only 3 of you and so many of us. But you want the lion's share? Do you think we're fools? At most, we'll give you some elephant fur. We'll take the rest. The group of people was furious. Many of them had died, but they could only take 1/3? Elephant fur? Hearing that, Lin Ling and the other 2 looked at each other and laughed. The reason why they dared to stay here and talk about the price was because this group of people was already exhausted, especially the strongest young man. He had obviously suffered heavy injuries. If the 2 sides really fought, they would definitely be the ones at a disadvantage. 2/3 is the final condition. If you don't want it, then you won't get a single hair. Lin Ling's eyes revealed a domineering look. Although this group of people did put in a lot of effort to kill the bone-shattering demonic elephant, Lin Ling and the others had saved their lives. Could it be that the lives of this group of people could not be compared to a bone-shattering demonic elephant? Not to mention, the demonic elephant was killed by Lin Ling and the other 2. Boom. Just as Lin Ling finished speaking, the group of people exploded with powerful auras. Their strength was definitely at the king level of the half-saint realm. Since you don't want face, then we won't give you the elephant fur. One of the youths shouted angrily and took the lead to attack. The cultivation of a half-saint realm 8 and the 7th grade desolate body shocked everyone. Haha. Seeing that, Sakra drank a mouthful of wine and shot forward. In midair, he transformed into a giant white skeleton. The destructive aura was extremely terrifying. A long halberd was ruthlessly slashed over. Boom! The void suddenly exploded. The moment Sakra attacked, the sword in the opponent's hand was immediately shattered. That person's eyes widened. So strong? Although Sakra was a half-saint realm 8, they had a powerful background. Therefore, they did not take them seriously. This was also because they had defeated a half-saint realm 1st grade desolate body. However, this confidence was instantly shattered by Sakra. The power of cultivation level, and the long halberd in his hand must be an extreme weapon. I'm afraid it has reached the 3rd grade. That person muttered to himself. The long halberd was pointed at him, making him not dare to act rashly. Impudent. Do you know who we are? Seeing this, the others were enraged. Mad Dragon Domain. A young man who was clearly not weak among the crowd roared and attacked. A large amount of silver scales appeared on his body, and his fist was like mercury flowing down the ground. The sky was filled with dazzling fist imprints, and their speed had reached 50 worlds speed. What a terrifying strength. This was because he had punched in the Yen state. If he had punched in a place like the Qing state, the entire divine prefecture would have been shaken. 70% berserker rank. The people around immediately cheered because the young man who had attacked had the Mad God bloodline, which was one of the 100 great bloodlines. He had already obtained the approval of the Mad God from the era of gods. As for the Mad God, the more he fought, the crazier he became. Even if he was facing someone with a higher cultivation base, he would still be able to beat them into submission with his stormy attacks. However, this time, he met his nemesis. Dreamflow's white hair fluttered as he floated out like a ghost, forcefully resisting the young man's attack. When the young man's attack landed on Meng Lu, something terrifying happened. The sky changed, and the scene of the ancient tomb of the gods appeared. The young man seemed to have lost his soul, and he froze on the spot. No matter how arrogant he was, he couldn't move anymore. Everyone raised their heads to look at the sky, and they saw a man floating there. He held a ball of light in his hand, and it seemed to be the young man's soul. His soul has been seized. Not good. Someone sucked in a breath of cold air as he looked at Wangu Wuji, waiting for him to make a move. Wangu Wuji furrowed his brows as he condensed his world essence around his body. However, at this moment, a sword that seemed to belong to the era of gods arrived. Its speed had already reached 100 worlds speed. In the next instant, a sword hung by Wangu Wuji's neck. If you were at your peak, you would still have some qualifications to bargain. However, it seems like you can only accept it now. Blue. The person who appeared in front of Wangu Wuji was a young man in blue robes. He was only in the 7th level of the half-saint realm, and although his cultivation base was the lowest, his speed was terrifying. Even an early-stage true saint wouldn't be able to catch up to him. Shit. At the same time, everyone's expression changed drastically. These three people were each more ferocious than the other. What kind of background did they have? You're 3 cultivation realms lower than me, but your strength isn't any weaker than mine. How rare. Wangu Wuji raised his head, and a cold smile appeared on his face. However, I don't like it when people threaten me with their swords. His eyes slowly turned purple. I don't like ungrateful people either. The young man in blue robes chuckled, and the cold light on his sword became even denser. All right, since you saved my life, we'll take 1/3 of the bone-shattering devil elephant. Wangu Wuji fell into deep thought for a moment before he finally compromised. The moment his words left his mouth, everyone gritted their teeth. This was especially true for the 2 people who were threatened by Sakura Heavenly Emperor. They roared, "Dream on. Don't tell me that you haven't embarrassed yourselves enough." However, Wangu Wuji spoke up, and the 2 of them had no choice but to suppress their unwillingness in their hearts. "Sir, may I know your name? I've seen most of the half-saint realm experts in the Yen province, but it's rare to see people like the 3 of you." Wangu Wuji looked at Lin Ling indifferently. Lin Ling sheathed his sword and said, "Lin Ling. Sakura Heavenly Emperor. Meng Lu." Sakura Heavenly Emperor, and the others spoke up as well. Wangu Wuji nodded his head and said, "If there's a chance, let's spar. It's my honor. However, let's talk about it after you've recovered. Let's split the spoils of war." Lin Ling shrugged nonchalantly. Although his words seemed casual, Wangu Wuji knew that the young man in blue robes was still hiding his strength. "Sir, we'll take 1/3 of the spoils. You can have the rest." All right. Both parties began to slice the bone-shattering devil elephant apart. It had to be said that the bone-shattering devil elephant was as huge as a mountain, and it was extremely troublesome to slice it apart. Even though it was dead, its fur was still extremely tough. After several hours, the bone-shattering devil elephant was finally sliced apart. Everyone began to collect their spoils of war. Lin Ling and the others did the same as well. Goodbye. Lin Ling and the other 2 took their leave. Wangu Wuji stared at the backs of the 3 of them as they left. "Wangu Wuji, are we going to let them leave just like that? Many of our men have died. However, there were still some people who were unwilling to give up. If we were to fight, all of us would be annihilated. That's why it's best for us to shake hands and make peace. Furthermore, they only gave us face because of the Wangu clan. If we didn't have a powerful background, they would have attacked us directly. Furthermore, the 3 of them have great potential. If they reached the true saint realm, even the world of true saints would be shaken." Wangu Wuji said indifferently. His words caused the faces of those who were unwilling to give up to change as they stared in the direction that Lin Ling and the others had left. Chapter 32-39. Half-Saint Nebula Tournament. Wangu Wuji's guess was right. If they weren't from the Wangu clan, Lin Ling wouldn't have given them any face. That was because Lin Ling and the other 2 had already offended the Heavenly Court. If they offended the Wangu clan, there would be no place for them to stay in the Yen province. Thus, it was better to have one more friend than one more enemy. Of course, if their strength had increased, they wouldn't have such fear. But now they were still in the process of growth. Not long after, Lin Ling and the other 2 returned to the mountain peak and returned to their peaceful days. Moreover, with a treasure like the bone-shattering demonic elephant, they did not lack cultivation resources for the time being. Seed of the gods, the flesh and blood of this demonic elephant is probably not weak. Lin Ling began to refine the devil elephant's flesh and blood. He didn't even let go of the elephant's tusks. However, during this period of time, the strength of his physical body had increased too quickly, so after refining it, the effect was not good. Therefore, Lin Ling also temporarily stored the bone-shattering demonic elephant's flesh and blood, waiting for a period of time to refine it. He now had the blood of martial god Qilin and the flesh of the bone-shattering demon elephant. He did not lack cultivation resources in the short term. However, he lacked fire attribute cultivation resources. After all, the space-time divine steel was progressing at a snail's pace. This made him rather anxious. In the following days, Little Rain, Shadow Afterimage, and the others came. When Shadow Afterimage saw the progress of Lin Ling and the others, he couldn't help but be shocked. But when he thought of the miracle that Lin Ling had created, Doing gradually became numb. The few of them stayed at the foot of the mountain, and their days were extremely comfortable. However, 3 days later, Martial Uncle he returned with a piece of news. Lin Ling, Dreamflow, Sakura, 1 month later, there will be a Half-Saint Nebula tournament at the Grand Change Nebula Gate. I have already registered for you. Hearing this, Lin Ling and the other two opened their mouths wide. Master, he was surprised. You don't want to participate? The way he saw it, Xing Xian had recommended Lin Ling and the others to come here for the sake of learning martial arts. How could he have known that Lin Ling and the others were here to avoid the limelight? They really had no interest in the competition. Lin Ling and the others even planned to leave the Great Change Nebula sect if their strength reached the Sage Realm. Well, our strength is too weak. We haven't even reached the peak of the Half-Sage Realm. So, we'll only be defeated if we participate. Lin Ling and Sakura looked at each other and laughed dryly. I know that too. Uncle Master, he nodded and said seriously, although you are not as strong as others, you still need to broaden your horizons. Only by knowing the strength of your peers will you be motivated to become stronger. He was very clearly aware that even though Lin Ling's group of 3 had made obvious improvements, the youths of the 9 prefectures that came with Lin Ling's group had already attained the peak of the half-saint realm and were half a step into the ranks of saints. Therefore, it was understandable that Lin Ling and the others felt inferior. As long as you can enter the top 10, everyone will be able to obtain a grade crystal of various attributes. In order to encourage Lin Ling and the others to work harder, Senior Uncle he spoke again. Grade crystal? Lin Ling's eyes suddenly lit up. He had heard that this treasure could enhance one's strength and could also be used for cultivation. Most importantly, it had various attributes. He could ask the Great Change Nebula sect for a grade crystal of the fire element to enhance the talent of the space-time steel. What about the top 3? Sakura's curiosity was also aroused. The top 3 will be rewarded handsomely. You can meet Master. Speaking of the top 3, Senior Uncle he was a little excited. However, Lin Ling and the others rolled their eyes. Meet the martial ancestor of Tai? They were not interested at all. It would be better to reward them with treasures. Therefore, they planned to enter the top 10. Have you all decided to participate? Well, follow me to register. Then Lin Ling and the others followed Senior Uncle He and left West Mountain. They had been in the Great Change Nebula sect for so long, but this was the first time they had left West Mountain. After a while, they arrived at the ancient Great Change Nebula sect. This sect was built in the mountains. When they looked up, they saw that they were surrounded by green mountains. The environment was very good. Then, Senior Uncle he stopped in front of an ancient hall. After giving some instructions, he strode in. At this moment, people were entering the hall one after another. Some were led by seniors, while others entered in groups of 3 to 5. Obviously, they were here to register for the competition. Lin Ling even heard Senior Uncle He's voice coming from inside. Xing Xian's disciples? That cowardly disciple? Well, since they are his disciples, let them participate. They will be exempted from the preliminary round. They only need to go through one challenge. If they pass, they will enter the elimination round and compete for the top 10. Thank you, Senior Brother. It was obvious that the senior in charge of registration did not think highly of Lin Ling and the others. Lin Ling and the others were unhappy about this. They did not like it when others mocked Xing Xian as a cowardly disciple. It's you. While Lin Ling and the others were waiting, someone suddenly looked at Lin Ling and said, This person was 6 demons honorable. This person was one of the few people that Lin Ling and the others knew in the Great Change Nebula sect. "Oh, it's you, the loser." Sakura suddenly laughed. Perhaps he had heard someone mocking Xing Shiyun, so he was very unhappy at this moment. Therefore, he did not show any respect to Xing Shiyun. 6 demons honorable. Who are these people? They look unfamiliar. The people beside 6 demons honorable frowned and looked at Lin Ling and the others. This was because Lin Ling and the others were fearless. Have you forgotten that they are the people who defeated me when I first entered the Great Change Nebula sect? 6 demons honorable said in a low voice. He had reached the 10th heaven of the Sage-to-be realm, so his eyes were burning with fighting spirit. Obviously, he wanted to wash away the humiliation. It's them. I thought that they had left the Great Change Nebula sect. It turns out that they are still here. What are they doing in the Great Change Nebula sect? Are they here to live in seclusion? Why haven't I seen them in the past few days? The surrounding people also reacted and let out cries of surprise. Subsequently, they squinted their eyes. In the previous battle, Lin Ling's strength was considered to be above average among all of them. However, they felt that they had surpassed Lin Ling and the others. 6 demons honorable, didn't you lose the previous time? Why don't we have another round? Someone suddenly suggested. 6 demons honorable wanted to fight, but he had some scruples. When he heard the suggestion, he immediately mustered up his courage. You are no match for me. If you want to die, you won't just be injured this time. I will trample you under my feet. Lin Ling knew what 6 demons honorable was thinking, so he said flatly. His words were blunt. This was because he really did not take 6 demons honorable seriously. Moreover, he did not have time to talk to him. Although he had come here to lie low, it did not mean that he was a pushover. You. Chapter 3240. Top 10. He wanted to take a step forward, but after meeting Lin Ling's gaze, he suddenly felt an irresistible feeling in his heart. Perhaps the blow that Lin Ling gave him last time was too great, causing him to still have inner demons. Step out. Why wouldn't you dare to take this step? Lin Ling looked at his footsteps and said indifferently. 6 demons venerable, I'll fight him for you. At this time, a young man walked out from the 6 revered lord's side. Apparently, he was also from the divine escort mansion. However, it was obvious that he had a higher status than the 6 revered lord. Okay, thank you, Brother Wenda. In the end, 6 demon venerable did not dare to take that step. He wanted to use this young man's strength to see if Lin Ling had become stronger. I am Lin Wenda, at the peak of the half-step Saint Realm, with an 8th grade desolate body. Today, I would like to exchange pointers with you. Since my realm is higher than yours, I won't take advantage of you. I'll let you have 3 moves. The young man's aura was calm, and his words carried a hint of arrogance. He also wanted to seize glory for the godly escort mansion. You'll give me 3 moves? That's too little. How about I give you 10 moves? Lin Ling nodded and also walked out. However, his words caused the expressions of the surrounding people to change. Half-Saint 7th layer, 10 moves? Could it be that his strength had greatly increased during this period of time? However, no matter how much he improved, he shouldn't be a match for someone at the peak of the half-saint realm. 10 moves? On the other hand, Lin Ling was very angry. He was a godly bodyguard who was even stronger than the 6 evil venerable. But he still came out and wanted to use his strength to make Lin Ling regret. How arrogant. Let's see what he'll say when he loses. 6 demon venerable's face was also extremely ugly. 10 moves? Where does his confidence come from? Maybe he thinks he'll lose in the end, so he said that. Seeing that the 2 of them were finally going to fight, many people were not optimistic about Lin Ling. Since they had entered the Great Change Nebula sect, they had experienced many small battles. Therefore, they had a general understanding of each other's strength. Especially Lin Wenda. Supposedly, he's ranked in the top 20 amongst half-saints. Excuse me. At this moment, Lin Wenda had already made his move. An 8th grade desolate body descended. It was the snow god bloodline, one of the 100 great bloodlines. It was as famous as the ice god bloodline. The wind and snow fluttered, and the sky and earth were instantly frozen. Based on his aura, if this person appeared elsewhere, he would definitely be a godly existence. The first move is not bad. Lin Ling clasped his hands behind his back and looked over indifferently. In the wind and snow, he punched out. Boom! The snow continued to fall, and the hair and eyebrows of those who were weak were covered in snow. In a short period of time, the two of them had exchanged 3 blows. A moment later, a figure surged up as if he had appeared out of thin air. He staggered backwards, and every step he took caused the ground to tremble. Seeing this, everyone was shocked, because the one who was forced to retreat was actually Lin Wenda. A blizzard immediately appeared under Lin Wenda's feet, locking onto his legs. Finally, this terrifying retreat came to a stop. His expression was extremely gloomy. How can this guy's boundary essence be so strong? My boundary essence at the peak of the Sage-to-be realm can't even shake him. He let out a low voice. There is always someone better than you. Not everyone likes to participate in some show-off competition. Therefore, to make a decision without seeing the strength of others is a taboo for warriors. Lin Ling smiled and said indifferently, "Previously, I only used 70% of my strength." Again, Lin Wenda's eyes flashed coldly, and he immediately made his move again. He did not believe that Lin Ling was so powerful. Moreover, with so many people watching, he could not lose completely. After all, his opponent was giving him a handicap. Great Snow World destroying palms. This time, he had used 60% of his cultivation level's power. The people in the distance immediately noticed that a cold intent entered their bodies and froze their boundary essence. One had to know that at their level of strength, ordinary ice and snow techniques could not affect them at all. There was even a warrior with fire talent who had flames on the surface of his body. He wanted to resist the ice and snow, but in the end, his flames were also frozen. This is the 4th move. Looking ahead, Lin Ling nodded slightly. Lin Wenda's talent was indeed not bad. This was because he had also noticed that there was divine energy entering his body and freezing everything. However, the realm-devouring beast had appeared in his body and swallowed all the ice and snow energy. Therefore, not only was he fine, but he had also made use of the ice and snow energy to raise his cultivation level slightly. Bang! Without looking at Lin Wenda, Lin Ling punched out again. Ka. Lin Wenda's move was broken again. After he retreated, he shook his head continuously. Impossible. He could clearly sense that Lin Ling was not affected by his ice and snow at all. This was far beyond his expectations. One had to know that his ice and snow energy could even freeze a First Heaven Sage. I don't believe it. Next, Lin Wenda's body turned snow white, and he shone brightly. He entered the ice and snow and unleashed a storm of attacks on Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling stood there like a pine tree. With one hand behind his back, he easily blocked the attacks with the other hand. His body was frozen from time to time. However, when he moved slightly, all the ice and snow disintegrated. This guy's defense is too terrifying. Can you tell what talent he has? Why can't I understand it at all? Could it be the strength of his physical body? But isn't he a fire talent? Everyone was dumbfounded. At this moment, they finally knew how terrifying Lin Ling was. He had lived in seclusion in the Grand Change Nebula sect and seemed to be stagnant. However, in reality, his strength was more than 90% of them. All right, 10 moves have passed. You can't defeat me. Let's end this. At the same time, Lin Ling's indifferent voice drifted out. He had said that he would give Suemo 10 moves. He had indeed given Suemo 10 moves. Most importantly, he had defeated 6 demons venerable not long ago with one hand behind his back. He had defeated 6 demons venerable with one hand behind his back. It was the same today. I've lost. The wind and snow began to stop. A dispirited figure walked out. Blood was dripping from the corner of his mouth. He looked at Lin Ling with eyes full of unwillingness. He was Lin Wenda. He was a rising star who had been groomed by the divine escort mansion. He was even more valued than 6 demons venerable. In the past, he had traveled all over the world and the 9 states. However, he had suffered a heavy blow at this moment. No wonder the divine escort mansion had told him to go to the Yen state if he wanted to become stronger. After entering the Great Change Nebula sect, I have sparred with many experts. I have been defeated and I have won. However, this is the first time I have seen someone like you who is completely incomprehensible. I estimate that you can already enter the top 10. Lin Wenda said again. We will definitely enter the top 10. Chapter 3241. The competition had begun. Lin Wenda sighed and walked towards the crowd. He stopped beside 6 Spectre Venerable and looked deeply at him. I know you want to wash away your shame, but let me tell you, you don't have any more chances. Sometimes, when it's time to accept your fate, you have to accept it. Six Spectre Venerable's face turned pale, and his heart became dispirited. What happened, Lin Ling? Someone dares to bully you? At this moment, the crowd was forcibly separated, and a figure appeared. It was Xia Tianyi. Obviously, he had also received the news that Lin Ling and the other two had come out from the Western Mountain. He thought that someone was going to harm Lin Ling. Xia Tianyi, you don't have to worry. These three guys don't need your protection. I'm afraid their strength can enter the top 10. Someone immediately said, causing Xia Tianyi to suck in a breath of cold air. When he first met Lin Ling and the others in the Divine Dreamland, he thought that Lin Ling and the others were just passers-by. They were just like-minded people, so he treated them as friends. Who would have thought that the passers-by of the past would be so strong today? Lin Ling looked at Xia Tianyi and felt warmth in his heart. He immediately nodded. Amazing, amazing. I think the three of you must have had a fortuitous encounter. Xia Tianyi was undoubtedly happy for Lin Ling. He didn't know that when Lin Ling had just entered the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect, Lin Ling was already stronger than him. The only people who could make Lin Ling fear were the Sage Realm powerhouses of the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. Lin Ling. At this time, Martial Uncle he also rushed over. He also thought that something had happened. It's nothing. Before Lin Ling could speak, Xiaoyu smiled and said, Martial Uncle he was stunned. He then looked at the crowd seriously and said, in the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect, the strong cannot bully the weak. This is a principle. If I find out that you dare bully them, don't blame me for being impolite. Although he was only a small elder in the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect, he had no problem intimidating these people. Hearing this, everyone smiled bitterly. With Lin Ling's strength, who could bully him? Let's go, I've already signed you up. After which, Martial Uncle he left with Lin Ling and the rest to prepare for the competition. And to martial artists, a month's time was merely the blink of an eye. Therefore, Lin Ling did not cultivate much this month. Firstly, it would be difficult for him to make any progress in the short term. Secondly, he didn't have any opponents he was afraid of in this competition. On the other hand, Lin Ling had used the space-time divine steel to secretly return to Qing province to visit his grandfather and the others. It had to be said that the space-time divine steel had yet to unleash its full power, but its teleportation ability was truly terrifying. From the third princess, Lin Ling learned that the Heavenly Court's people were still hiding in Qing province, waiting for Lin Ling's return. Moreover, the spirit state was the same. This made Lin Ling feel that something was amiss. He realized that the power of the new Heavenly Court was growing stronger and stronger. Of course, with Wentian Martial God's power, he indeed had the power to rally supporters. After killing Martial God Qilin, Wentian Martial God has resurfaced again. The flames of revenge in Lin Ling's heart burned even more vigorously. Then he suppressed those thoughts and asked Xing Xiaoyun about it. Master, it seems that many people in the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect look down on you. This. After being pointed out by Lin Ling, Xing Xiaoyun was undoubtedly extremely embarrassed. In the end, he could only say, those people are just jealous of me. Hearing this, Lin Ling chuckled. Sakura and the rest also chuckled. This was because they had roughly guessed that Xing Xiaoyun had disappointed the Grand Simplicity Patriarch, causing him to feel extremely inferior and finally escape from Yen province. Master, if there's a chance, I'll clear your name. Looking at Xing Xiaoyun, who kept laughing dryly, Lin Ling secretly swore. He knew that this would be the pain of Xing Xiaoyun's life. The competition was getting closer and closer. At this moment, in the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect, under the ancient star tree, an old man sat cross-legged. His eyebrows touched the ground as if he had merged with the ancient tree. Master, tomorrow is the day of the competition. At this moment, a few figures approached the ancient tree and bowed slightly. Hearing this, the old man opened his eyes. Starlight bloomed in his eyes, and a smile appeared on his face. The purpose of this competition is to find that person. I hope that person will reveal his secret when facing an attack from his peers. Definitely. Those who enter the top 3 will be able to meet Master. They might even be accepted as Master's last disciple. Therefore, that person will definitely do his best to show off. Those people laughed one after another. The purpose of this competition was obviously to find that mysterious junior. This was because the realm-swallowing beast had been destroyed in the Glaze Ball assessment. This made the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect very curious about that junior. Originally, they thought that even if that junior hid, the truth would come out sooner or later. However, that junior was really good at hiding. Until now, no one knew who that junior was. He can really keep his composure. I'm getting more and more interested in him. The old man looked at the tree behind him and muttered to himself. Time passed quietly, and the competition arrived as scheduled. On this day, all the Sage-to-Be and Sage realms of the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect gathered. Everyone wanted to see how much the strength of these rising stars had improved in this short period of time. Early in the morning, Lin Ling and the others arrived and saw a few familiar faces. Zilong, the former number 1 Sage-to-Be in the Yen state. Yiling Tian, the former number 1 Sage-to-Be in the Yu state. Yuru, the successor of Miao Shen's true teachings. Lin Ling saw that their strength had greatly improved. They were only one step away from the Sage realm. To cross the Sage-to-Be realm, one must go through the Sage's tribulation. Some of them have already broken through, but they don't have the confidence to cross the Sage's tribulation. Therefore, they remain at the peak of the Sage-to-Be realm. Second brother, is the Sage's tribulation very difficult? It's very difficult. In the Sage-to-Be realm, except for the Sage-to-Be realm from the early stage to the middle stage, and from the late stage to the middle stage, the rest of the Sage's tribulation is very easy. However, the Sage's tribulation is several times more difficult than the Sage-to-Be realm. If you can't cross it, you'll definitely turn into ashes. But why are there so many Sage-to-Be realm cultivators? It depends on the talent. The stronger the talent, the stronger the Sage's tribulation. Therefore, when you reach the peak of the Sage-to-Be realm, you must be fully prepared before you break through. Lin Ling kept talking to Sakura and the others. He stared at Zilong and the others and asked curiously, with the talent of these guys, there should be many forces in the Yen state that want to recruit them. But why did they come to the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect? Perhaps for some inheritance. Although there are many sects in the Yen state that are bigger than the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect, in terms of age, the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect is older. Meng Lu said thoughtfully. Lin Ling nodded. While they were talking, the competition had already begun. The contestants had already passed the preliminary round and were preparing for the knockout round. Lin Ling and the others joined later. Although they did not need to go through the preliminary round, they still needed to go through a challenge. Therefore, not long after, Lin Ling and the others' names were called. Chapter 3242. Translator. Naibo Studio he easily passed. As soon as the name came out, the eyes of the seniors of the Grand Change Nebula sect lit up. I heard he's a disciple of Xing Shiyun. Some of the seniors who were jealous of Xing Shiyun in the past were now gloating over his misfortune. In the past, Xing Shiyun had failed his mission and was too ashamed to face the Grand Simplicity Patriarch. Hence, he escaped from the Grand Simplicity Nebula sect. This made them think that Xing Shiyun's disciples were similar to him. They were all cowardly bandits. 8th stage half-saint? Their strength isn't very strong. I think that there should be many people who want to challenge them and snatch their spots. That's for sure. Those seniors were all laughing and chatting. Who's coming? On the martial stage, Sakura looked around and waved his hand faintly. That martial uncle, he was incomparably nervous, deeply afraid that Sakura would be eliminated. However, the surroundings were completely silent. Finally, after the time it takes for 3 incense sticks to burn, Sakura got impatient and successfully entered the knockout round. At this moment, the seniors of the Great Change Nebula sect were confused. What was going on? Dreamstream. Next, it was Dreamflow's turn. However, the surroundings were still silent. The faces of those young geniuses were gloomy. They had long heard of the battle a month ago, so they didn't dare to provoke Lin Ling's group. Everyone's silence had undoubtedly left all the seniors dumbfounded. Perhaps because the first person's cultivation was too low, the others didn't want to bully him, so he was lucky enough to pass. But no one challenged the second person? Trash. However, what surprised all the seniors was that Meng Lu didn't even bother to speak. This time, someone must have gone up. A senior said with great certainty. After being mocked as trash, anyone with a backbone would probably go up and teach Xing Shiyun's disciple a lesson. However, there was still nothing. Even Uncle Master He's mouth was agape. Even though he was very familiar with Lin Ling and the others, Lin Ling and the others rarely fought in the sect, so he was utterly unaware of the strength of Lin Ling and the others. Next, Lin Ling. It was finally Lin Ling's turn. Half-Saint 7th layer? That's a very low cultivation level. There should be someone this time. Many seniors widened their eyes and waited for the outcome. They didn't believe that all three Xing Xiun's disciples could enter the knockout round. Who's coming? I'll fight you with one hand. On the martial stage, Lin said indifferently. Unfortunately, the surroundings was still silent. You don't? Then I'll fight you with two hands. Lin Studio Linli said. Although he didn't, he Xiun. He was Xiun's Xian Studio Xiun. Who's fighting? Whose Xiun Studio is Studio? Whose Xian Studio NN Studio? Martial Sect Studio. Sect Studio among the seniors' studio. On the other hand, Uncle He's heart was pounding violently. He did not expect Lin Ling to be so arrogant. If he was defeated, it would be troublesome. Senior brother Xing already did not have a good reputation in the sect. If his disciple also lost face, his reputation would fall to the bottom of the valley. However, Sect Nexuan Sect Yun, Xiao Studio, the Jojo geniuses were whispering among themselves. Only a fool would go up. That guy has defeated Lin Wenda. He's bound to enter the top 10. Isn't he looking for trouble? Obviously, everyone had witnessed the battle a month ago. At that time, Lin Ling had generously allowed Lin Wenda 10 moves and defeated him with one hand. If such a fierce person were to go all out, his strength would be unimaginable. Therefore, other than those who had entered the knockout round, ordinary people could only look up to the three of them. Under the astonishment of the sect elders, Lin Ling and the other two had successfully passed the round and started to compete for the top 10 positions. What's going on? Even Zilong, Yi Lingtian, and Yi Yuru, the top half-sage realm cultivators, frowned. Obviously, they weren't clear about the battle a month ago. The three of them defeated Lin Wenda. However, at this moment, Xia Tianyi laughed from the side. Without a doubt, Zilong and the others' expressions changed. Although Lin Wenda's strength wasn't as strong as theirs, he wasn't weak either. If they could defeat him, it meant that they could enter the top 10. Interesting. Those who can enter the top 10 are either at the peak of the half-sage realm or at the 10th heaven of the half-sage realm. The three of them actually defeated their opponents. This means that they're really strong. However, I'm the king below the half-sage realm. Therefore, they're still my subordinates. While Zilong and the others were surprised, an arrogant voice suddenly came from the side. Such a voice would usually attract hostility from them. However, when they saw the person who spoke, Zilong and the others fell silent. That was because this person was called Zui Yunfei. He joined the sect Nexuan sect later. It was said that he was one of the Flame Emperor's men. His strength was extremely terrifying. He had once defeated thousands of half-sage realm cultivators at the same time. This matter had once caused an uproar in the Yen state. There were also rumors that even the former number 1 half-sage realm cultivator in the Yen state, Sanzi, would be defeated by this person. This was because he was an invincible half-sage realm cultivator. Of course, as the current number 1 half-sage realm cultivator in the Yen state, Zilong naturally wasn't convinced. However, in the sect Nexuan sect, he had been severely defeated by this person several times. He finally knew that unless he stepped into the sage realm, he wouldn't be a match for him. I know that you're very strong. However, there's always someone better than you. At this moment, Xia Tianyi said faintly, "Oh, you're not convinced?" Zui Yunfei looked at Xia Tianyi with a smile. Ancient flames appeared in his eyes. With just a glance, Xia Tianyi felt immense pressure. It was said that Zui Yunfei had a 10th grade desolate body. He was even half a step into the ultimate desolate body. This was the fiery demon divine body, a powerful talent that combined flames and flesh into one. Xia Tianyi couldn't win against such a talent. Junior sister Iyuru, what do you think? Seeing that Xia Tianyi didn't speak, Zui Yunfei looked at the girl beside him and smiled. Senior brother Zua, you're really strong. Iyuru replied faintly. She looked a little cold. Seeing this, Zui Yunfei smiled. However, he thought to himself, one of the true disciples of Miao Shun. I'll get my hands on such a beauty sooner or later. His smile was well hidden, but it was still caught by Zilong and the others. They also knew that Zui Yunfei was pursuing Iyuru. However, Iyuru didn't seem to be interested in Zui Yunfei. In fact, they were also attracted to a beauty like Iyuru. Firstly, she was a true disciple of Miao Shun and had the backing of a powerful boundary god. Secondly, Iyuru was a powerful boundary master. It was said that she was only slightly weaker than Yeshua. Therefore, if they could win her heart, It would mean that they had a virtuous wife who could help them forge weapons and set up ancient arrays. Chapter 3243. Lin Ling entered the battle. Even on the distant Green Mountain, some divine cranes, unicorns, and other divine beings were watching the competition at this moment. Regardless of whether these divine beasts could understand it or not, if they could absorb some fur, it would be of great help to them. This was because even though the matches in the tournament were merely a clash of fists and kicks, every punch and kick contained the secrets of the universe's chaos. And during this process, Lin Ling and the other two also appeared one after another. Everyone was looking forward to it. However, the result was that all the opponents that appeared were defeated by Lin Ling and the others in a clean and efficient manner. In the end, when the contestant saw Lin Ling and the other two, he immediately admitted defeat. This result undoubtedly shocked the seniors of the Great Change Nebula sect. Never in their wildest dreams did they expect Xing Xiun's disciples to be so strong. Even Master's junior master, he was shocked. Then he burst out laughing. As for Lin Ling and the other two, they smoothly entered the top 10. These 10 people also became the focus of attention and began to compete for the top 3. These 10 people are the same as us. They all come from various places in the 9 provinces and are all proud sons of heaven. However, the gap between them and us is too big. I heard that the top 3 can meet the Tai martial ancestor. I wonder who will be in the top 3. Everyone's emotions surged, and they were incomparably excited. Even those 10 people were the same. If there was an exception, it would naturally be Lin Ling's group of 3. Because their goal was to enter the top 10, and now they had accomplished their goal. However, Master's junior uncle, he was extremely excited. He hoped that Lin Ling and the other 2 could enter the top 3 and finally meet Master. At that time, Master would definitely remember Xing Xiun. As for the top 3, they would be able to challenge each other on their own, and only the top 5 would be able to choose the corresponding level crystal. This news made Lin Ling surprised. He hurriedly looked at Sakura and the others, but they shrugged indifferently. Second brother, we only need the rank crystal. As for the attributes, that's not a big problem. Yes, and even if I want the corresponding attributes, I'm afraid the Grand Change Nebula sect doesn't have it. Sakura and Meng Lu spoke at the same time. Their talents were related to the underworld, so the rank crystal was naturally rare. In fact, if Lin Ling wanted the rank crystals of other attributes, the Grand Change Nebula sect might not have it. For example, rank crystal that was related to the Dragon Clan. Fortunately, he only needed fire elemental crystals. It should not be difficult for the Grand Change Nebula sect to find such crystals. Then I'll compete for the top 5. Lin Ling nodded his head and looked at the martial arts stage. The battle on the stage was the battle. Rank is that's the Star Realm Martial sect is Martial's Heaven Dragon editor, is his stage Nebulb is Martial. This young man was extremely mysterious. His face was dark and his eyes were cold. If he had not defeated Xia Tianyi, no one would have noticed him. Is Xia Tianyi said dispiritedly after she left. Even Sakura and the others were a little surprised. They hurriedly looked at Lin Ling and asked. Lin Ling stared at the young man indifferently and then nodded. This person is an assassin from the Flying Dragon organization. Hearing this, Sakura and the others finally understood. No wonder Xia Tianyi couldn't restrain the young man's aura. It turned out that the cold aura was murderous aura. Murderous aura seemed similar to the ghost demon Dao, but in fact, it belonged to 2 different martial arts. Next battle, Iyuru. Soon, it was the turn of the next battle. When Iyuru went on the stage, the whole audience was in an uproar. Iyuru's strength was indeed tyrannical. With a wave of her hand, she set up a spirit barrier and defeated her opponent easily. This also made the atmosphere of the Grand Change Nebula sect reach its peak. Although everyone knew that Iyuru's strength was not weak, they didn't expect her to be so strong. Good spirit barrier Dao Iyuru. You should have set up a spirit barrier around your body. When you meet an opponent, you set up the spirit barrier with a wave of your hand. It seems that among all the half-step saints, you are the best in terms of spirit barrier. Some elders of the Grand Change Nebula sect praised her. Iyuru revealed a faint smile and shook her head. Among the half-step saints of the Grand Change Nebula sect, except for those seniors, there is one person of the same age who is not inferior to me in terms of spirit barrier Dao. In front of him, I am just showing off my slight skill before an expert. As soon as these words came out, everyone's face changed. Yuru came from the true inheritance of Miao Shun. In terms of spirit barrier Dao, if she claimed to be the second, who would dare to claim to be the first? But now, she said that there was someone of the same age who was more powerful than her. What? Zui Yunfei, who had been closing his eyes, finally opened his eyes and stared at Yuru. He found that this beauty didn't seem to be joking. Instead, there was a clear light of admiration in her eyes. Who is it? Zui Yunfei felt extremely uncomfortable. His eyes were also searching among the crowd. In fact, the others were also doing the same, but in the end, there was no result. On the contrary, Yuru quietly glanced at Lin Ling. After a faint smile, she left the martial stage. Others didn't notice this glance, but Lin Ling and the other two saw it. She recognized us? Disher Tian frowned. It should be Yeshua who told her. Lin Ling pondered for a moment and smiled faintly. He didn't care because as long as it was Yeshua's people, it was also one of them. Following that, the competition continued. It was Yi Lingtian's turn to fight. This person's strength was recognized as strong, so he easily defeated his opponent. It was the same for Zilong. If there were no accidents, these two would definitely enter the top 3. After they fought, it was Lin Ling's turn soon. Lin Ling wanted to enter the top 5, so he had to fight in this battle no matter what. When he walked out, the entire Grand Change Nebula sect was silent because Lin Ling could be considered as an expert who came out of nowhere. Although his strength was not as strong as the top 3, he couldn't be underestimated. Since he can defeat Lin Wenda, his strength must be in the top 10. But the top 10 aren't weak. Will he move forward or be at the bottom? Many people were curious. As for Lin Ling, he chose his opponent at will. His gaze swept across the 9 people. Disher Tian and Meng Lu didn't need to fight. To enter the top 5, they only needed to challenge one of the strongest 5. Finally, Lin Ling's gaze fell on Zilong and Yi Lingtian. Seeing this, people's hearts immediately felt as if they were struck by lightning. Could it be that Lin Ling wanted to challenge the second and third strongest? Zilong and Yi Lingtian had mysterious smiles on their faces. Yi Lingtian's smile was a kind of anticipation, while Zilong's was a kind of disdain. But soon Lin Ling's gaze passed over them. Chapter 3244. Defeated in one move. After all, as the son of the devil, he was famous for many of his skills, such as the calamity-annihilating Sun Bao. If he used it, with so many people watching, he couldn't guarantee that no one would recognize him. Me. At this moment, Zui Yunfei's long hair fluttered in the wind. He noticed that Lin Ling was looking at him. This made him want to laugh. A mere 7th layer half-sage dares to challenge him? This was courting death. Therefore, he believed that this guy called Lin Ling wouldn't court death. However, this was indeed the case. I choose you. Lin Ling finally spoke. His opponent was the cold-faced youth who had defeated Xia Tianyi. It's him. Everyone's gaze landed on the young man, and their eyes were filled with surprise. Because the cold and indifferent young man's strength wasn't weak, and he was already ranked at the 4th position. According to common sense, Lin Ling should start from the weakest to the strongest, and not attempt to reach the top 5 in a single bound. Interesting. The cold young man smiled for the first time. He floated over from the front like a ghost. Most importantly, his speed was extremely fast, almost comparable to the purple dragon's. The surroundings of the square were in an uproar when they saw this scene. Who do you think is more powerful, that mysterious young man or Lin Ling? In the previous battle between the mysterious youth and Xia Tianyi, he seemed to have used his full strength. So far, Lin Ling has defeated his opponents with one hand. I think Lin Ling is stronger. That might not be the case. A series of discussions could be heard among the crowd. Even Zilong and the others were evaluating the situation. In the end, they came to a conclusion that Lin Ling had a 60% chance of winning. Of course, the process would be very difficult, and he would win by luck. At this moment, the mysterious young man looked at Lin Ling indifferently and said in a cold voice, I estimate that your strength is about the same as Xia Tianyi's. Even he lost to me. I don't understand why you chose me. Because it's simpler. Lin Ling smiled and replied indifferently. His words caused the mysterious young man's pupils to constrict. Xia Tianyi, who was at the edge of the martial arts platform, opened her mouth wide. Simple? That mysterious youth wasn't simple at all. No matter if it was in terms of natural talent or cultivation base, he was a top figure in the half-saint realm. especially the ninth grade desolate body. It was extremely mystical. To this day, no one knew what kind of desolate body it was. Very well, I will let you know that Jane is not simple. The mysterious young man didn't say much. After nodding his head, he also attacked. The shadow quietly spread out. The sky and the earth seemed to be dyed with ink. The most frightening thing was that these shadows could isolate everything, making it impossible for people to see through them. Eugene's bloodline. At the same time, the seniors of the Grand Change Nebula sect shouted in a low voice. This was also one of the 100 Great Bloodlines, and it was an extremely mysterious bloodline talent. The shadow shrouded Lin Ling, causing Lin Ling to nod slightly. This mysterious youth was indeed somewhat powerful. He was sure that if this young man was placed in the 9 prefectures, he would definitely be an emperor amongst half-saints. In the Grand Change Nebula sect, he was indeed ranked 4th. Unfortunately, he met Lin Ling. The reason why Lin Ling chose him as his opponent was because the mysterious young man's techniques were similar to Do afterimages. In fact, he was not as powerful as Do afterimages. Lin Ling was extremely familiar with Do afterimages techniques. Therefore, he didn't need to use his full strength. The shadow began to disperse, and everything returned to normal. However, it seemed to have formed some kind of domain. This was a domain of an assassin. The quieter it was, the more dangerous it was. This also allowed people to see the scene on the martial arts platform clearly. However, the mysterious young man had disappeared. Only Lin Ling was standing there. Almost at the same time, a cold light finally appeared. It seemed to have come from the void and slashed towards Lin Ling. Although the cold light didn't seem powerful, it was a fatal blow from an assassin. At this moment, the seniors of the Grand Change Nebula sect stood up. Their expressions changed drastically. What a ruthless blow. Martial uncle, he shouted anxiously, warning Lin Ling to be careful. However, Lin Ling, who was in the domain, didn't seem to hear anything from the outside. On the contrary, he slowly stretched out his fist and placed his other hand behind his back. Oh my God, he's not going to use another punch, is he? His appearance undoubtedly made people's expressions extremely interesting. After all, Lin Ling only had a 50% chance of defeating the mysterious young man. But now, Lin Ling was underestimating his opponent so much. Could it be that after he came out of nowhere, all the opponents he met were too weak, causing him to be arrogant and complacent? An arrogant soldier is bound to be defeated. Defeat him. Many people were unhappy with Lin Ling. With one hand behind his back, he was using only one hand to fight against his opponent. Such arrogance naturally made them feel uncomfortable. The mysterious young man snorted in his heart, "You're so arrogant. I'll make you fail miserably." In fact, he wasn't very confident in fighting against Lin Ling. The reason was that he still didn't know what Lin Ling's techniques were. But now, he felt that Lin Ling was going to lose without a doubt. Almost at the same time, the cold light finally reached Lin Ling's back. The light flashed and was about to slash Lin Ling's back. However, Lin Ling seemed to have eyes behind his back. He waved his left hand lightly and casually. Smack! The fatal blow was caught by the mysterious young man's arm. It was like hitting a snake at its weakest point. The mysterious young man couldn't exert any strength at all. You've lost. At the same time, Lin Ling said with a smile. He waved his left hand and swatted the young man's arm away from the dagger. Then he threw a light punch. Boom! The punch seemed calm, but when it landed on the mysterious young man, he immediately felt a surge of power. The power was comparable to the sage stage. Whoosh! He spat out blood and flew backward, crashing onto the ground. Everyone was shocked. Without martial arts, without using the power of cultivation level, and without using his talent, Lin Ling won easily. And it was only one move. Most importantly, it was only one hand. How is this possible? The young man sat on the ground and kept recalling the previous scene. His mind was confused. He could only be sure that Lin Ling could see through his means, and that his attack was very powerful. He won. In the crowd, Uncle Master, he was stunned. His eyes were wet. At this moment, he wished he could find Xing Xiu Yun and tell him that his disciple had won and entered the top 4. Lin Ling won, haha. Then he looked at Sakura and the rest excitedly. He thought that Sakura and the rest would be very excited too. In the end, the two of them were drinking and talking about other topics. When they talked about the key points, they laughed loudly. They didn't even look at the martial stage. Uncle Master, he was speechless. Were these two guys worried about Lin Ling? You guys are still drinking? Stop drinking. Look, Lin Ling won. Uncle Master, he hurriedly said to the two of them excitedly. It's just a win. What's the big deal? Sakura and the others subconsciously said. Their words made martial uncle he flabbergasted. However, after Sakura and the others reacted quickly, their faces became incomparably excited. They looked up to the sky and laughed. However, this kind of excitement gave martial uncle he a feeling that it was fake. Chapter 32:45. He was ranked 4th. Physical strength? At this moment, among the higher-ups of the Great Change Nebula sect, an old man muttered to himself. He defeated his opponent with a single punch without using his talent. He didn't even use his boundary essence. This should be the strength of his physical body. Do you guys think that this young man will be the one taking the test? Master, I don't think so. Although the physical strength displayed by the youth so far is very curious, that mysterious person was able to defeat the realm-swallowing beast. Therefore, I don't think it's him. It should be Zui Yunfei, who is ranked 1st. There was a group of people in front of the old man, but at this moment, a man in his 30s laughed. Your analysis is right. The old man looked at him with admiration and nodded in satisfaction. In fact, he already had an answer in his heart. He was just testing these people. These people were all his closed-door disciples, and among them, that man was the one he valued the most. Next, let's see Zui Yunfei's strength. The man was still smiling. He was slightly older than Lin Ling, but he had already reached the Saint Realm. From the perspective of talent, this person was indeed extraordinary. That was because he possessed the ultimate desolate body. After Lin Ling entered the top 4, it was Zui Yunfei's turn to fight very quickly. Without a doubt, the Grand Change Nebula sect was shaken. Because Zui Yunfei's strength has already been recognized, everyone knows how powerful he is. Zui Yunfei was also extremely domineering, directly declaring war on Zilong and Yi Lingtian. This action shocked everyone once again. He's worthy of being able to defeat 1,000 experts at the initial stage of the half-saint stage. Zilong and the others had already lost to Zui Yunfei. They knew that they were no match for Zui Yunfei, so they decided to join forces. Moreover, they were quite angry in their hearts. They planned to join hands and humiliate Zui Yunfei greatly, who asked him to be so domineering and arrogant. However, the result was that the two of them were not Zui Yunfei's match even after joining forces. Zui Yunfei was someone who could break through to the half-step sage realm at any time. His talent was already half a step into the ultimate desolate body. He possessed a powerful flame energy and his physical strength. In the end, he even unleashed the bloodline of the Dragon Clan. The Grand Change Nebula sect was in an uproar. After the famous Longyang and Iyuru of the 9 regions, this was another person who was in human form but possessed the bloodline of the Dragon Clan. Without a doubt, after using his trump card, Zui Yunfei won easily. Furthermore, his eyes were filled with arrogance as he looked at Iyuru calmly. It was as if he was saying that both of them had the aura of the Dragon Clan and were a match made in heaven. Unfortunately, Iyuru did not pay attention to his gaze. She was only surprised by Zui Yunfei's dragon aura. That was because Zui Yunfei had hidden himself too deeply. Even she had not sensed it. In fact, even Lin Ling didn't notice it. Indra and Meng Lu's expressions had even changed violently as they gazed at Lin Ling obviously. They were extremely surprised as well. Second brother, is his dragon bloodline stronger or is yours? Sakura couldn't help but ask curiously. Of course it's mine. Lin Ling smiled and nodded. Not only did he possess the dragon bone, but the dragon bone had also undergone a great deal of tempering. It contained the nether dragon-associated fluid and the 4 ferocious world-devouring beasts. To him, Zui Yunfei was just a small dragon. Hearing that, Indra and the others finally relaxed. After Zui Yunfei won, his expression and gaze were as if he was looking down on the world. It was as if all the half-sage realm experts were his subordinates. He had also become the well-deserved number 1. Now that the number 1 position had been determined, all that was left was the competition for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place. Unfortunately, no one dared to challenge the top 5. Instead, the top 5 were competing for the ranking. Soon, it would be Lin Ling's turn. Everyone was looking forward to it. They did not know if Lin Ling would be able to surpass another rank. After all, up until now, Lin Ling was the only one who had not used his full strength. I forfeit. Unfortunately, just as everyone was looking forward to it, Lin Ling spoke with a smile. His words were like a bucket of cold water that extinguished everyone's enthusiasm. Among them, Masters Jr., he was the most affected, because he wanted Lin Ling to enter the top 3 and be favored by Master. Then he would help Xingxiu Yun to wash away the infamy of being a coward. This, don't you want to persuade him? Masters Jr., he could not help but ask Indra and the others. Why should we persuade him? Lin Ling thinks that he is no match for him, so he forfeited. If he continues to fight, he will only lose face. But shouldn't martial artists face difficulties head-on? If he forfeits, others will think of him as a coward. What's the point? Masters Jr., he continued to persuade them. However, Indra and the others did not seem to care at all. This was because they knew that Lin Ling could defeat thousands of troops. However, there was no point in continuing the fight. As for being favored by martial ancestor Tai Yi, Lin Ling did not care about it. If he really wanted to clear his master's name, he would do it on a more glorious occasion. That would be the time when Lin Ling would leave Tai Yi Nebula sect. He forfeited just like that. What a disappointment, coward. Sai, this is normal. After seeing Zui Yunfei's strength, the others would not dare to fight for first place. It seems like the rankings have been decided. Everyone was discussing among themselves. Although some looked down on Lin Ling, they felt that everything was normal. Zui Yunfei and the others felt that everything was normal. Lin Ling was indeed smart. If he really dared to fight, he would definitely leave in disgrace. Even Zilong had the same thought. If there was an exception, it would be Yi Lingtian and Yi Ro. They felt that Lin Ling was not just that. An exciting nebula competition had finally come to an end. Of course, to Lin Ling and the others, this competition was a little boring. Therefore, after they had received their rewards, they left. The people glanced at Lin Ling and thought that Lin Ling and the other two felt embarrassed and did not dare to stay any longer. So they left. They did not care about this. Instead, they kept congratulating Zui Yunfei and the other strong people. Zui Yunfei was in high spirits. He knew that the Tai Patriarch was a strong person from the era of the deities. Being able to meet him today would definitely benefit him greatly. The Flame Emperor had also said that the Tai Patriarch was very close to one of the 9 states' 10 martial gods. Therefore, being able to curry favor with the Tai Patriarch would only bring benefits and no harm. Thinking of this, Zui Yunfei smiled proudly. He looked around, trying to find the woman with the same bloodline. However, the woman had already walked into the distance. Most importantly, not far in front of her was Lin Ling and the others. What? This scene made Zui Yunfei's pupils tremble violently. Yi Ro did not worship his light. Instead, she went to chase after Lin Ling and the other cowards. He suddenly felt as if his heart was being cut by a knife. The crowd's words of worship were like mocking laughter at this moment. It made him feel as if he was wearing a huge green hat. He got first place, but he lost that woman? How could this be? How could this be? He kept shaking his head, completely unable to understand. Chapter 3246. The Increase in Fire Talent. Lin Ling, Dishirtian Menglu, you have guts. Zui Yunfei could not figure it out, so he could only place all his anger on Lin Ling and the others. At that moment, Lin Ling and the others were walking towards the western mountain. The girl chasing behind them made them frown. Senior Lin Ling. The one chasing after Lin Ling and the others was Iyuru. Why are you following us? Lin Ling stopped in his tracks and looked at the beauty with a cold expression. Me. His appearance made Iyuru a bit embarrassed, and she did not know what to say. Lin Ling, what kind of attitude is this? She is a true disciple of Miao Shun, and she is a girl. Treat her better. Me. Although martial uncle he was puzzled as to why Iyuru was following them, he could not help but reprimand her. No, I was too rude. Me. Iyuru quickly waved her hand, as if she was afraid that Lin Ling and the others would be angry. In reality, she also knew why Lin Ling was angry. She knew that Lin Ling was the son of the demon, and he came here to avoid the limelight. Naturally, he did not want to be the focus of everyone. It was also because her senior sister, Ye Shui, was currently hiding somewhere in the 9 provinces to avoid the limelight. The reason why she looked for Lin Ling was because she heard from her senior sister that Lin Ling's spirit formation Tao was unfathomable and broke the rules. So, she wanted to ask for advice. After that, she said her purpose. Of course, she did not mention the spirit formation Tao. She only said that she encountered some problems in martial arts and wanted to ask Lin Ling for advice. Lin Ling pondered for a bit and knew what Iyuru was thinking. In addition, martial uncle he was here, so he could not refuse. Then come with us to the Western Mountain. However, we do not provide food. If you want to eat, solve it yourself. Me. After leaving those words, Lin Ling strode forward. Seeing this, martial uncle he helplessly patted his head. This guy was too arrogant. No matter what, Iyuru was still a beauty and a powerful beauty. No problem, I am good at cooking. I can cook for you, Senior Lin Ling. Me. However, Iyuru did not care. Instead, she was overjoyed and followed Lin Ling. This made martial uncle he was dumbfounded. Compared to the tranquil West Mountain, the Grand Change Nebula sect was extremely lively. Zui Yunfei, Zilong, and Yi Lingtian, who were ranked in the top 3, were obviously the center of attention. Even some of the experts in the Saint stage praised them. They also got to meet the Grand Change Patriarch as they wished. This was a great Yen. The Tai Grand Ancestor was considered an extremely ancient figure in the Yen state. If one could become his last disciple, one would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort on the path of martial arts. Unfortunately, the last disciple seemed simple, but after so many years, there were only a few people who could become the last disciple. Is Fu Yuyu. Although Zui Yunfei and the others did not become his last disciple, they were at least one step closer. Moreover, they had received guidance from the Tai Patriarch. What a pity for Lin Ling. He actually gave up. If he continued to fight, he might have been able to enter the top 3. While people were envious, they also thought of Lin Ling. Some people were gloating, while others felt pity. The West Mountain was as tranquil as ever, as if it was a mountain peak that reached the heavens. Even the wind was incomparably clean, especially at night, when the stars twinkled. It was as if one could touch an ancient myth. Iyuru stayed here and was responsible for the food and shelter of Lin Ling and the others. This surprised Master He. He never thought that such a famous woman would have such a gentle personality. She was the type of wife and mother. Even Xiaoyu was very close to Iyuru. Most importantly, Iyuru's cooking skills were very good. She was able to move Xiaoyu with her cooking skills. As for Lin Ling and the others, although they were sages, it did not matter if they did not eat or drink. However, delicious food was sometimes a pleasure, so they would not refuse. Tsk Tisk, second brother, this girl is not bad. Sakura quietly looked at the busy Iyuru and said with a smile. What? You like her? Lin Ling turned his head and looked at him strangely. Sakura hurriedly waved his hand and said, I don't want to touch these love affairs now. I still want to improve my strength. What about you, Menglu? Lin Ling looked at the white-haired youth beside him. The latter shrugged his shoulders and said, I also live by martial arts. I have no plans for the relationship between men and women for the time being. You two are really blockheads. Lin Ling rolled his eyes at each of them. Lin Ling's son was not young anymore, but these two guys were not married yet. It really made people anxious. One had to know that if Sakura and the others were in Lin Ling's previous world, it was possible for them to be grandfathers now. However, the two worlds were different. With the age of Sakura and the others, if they were in the previous world, they would only be 25 or 26 years old. After all, this world lived by martial arts and surpassed the limits of the human body. As the lifespan continued to increase, people aged slowly. Big brother Lin Ling, it's done. At this moment, a soft voice came from outside the house. Moreover, bursts of meat fragrance also drifted over, which made Lin Ling and the others walk out. That night, under the quiet night, the few of them chatted and laughed wittily. Although Iyuru had a gentle temperament, when she spoke to Lin Ling, there was more or less a trace of reverence. Mainly, she knew that Lin Ling was the famous son of the devil in the 9 states. Lin Ling's attitude towards her was also neither cold nor indifferent. After all, there was no friendship between them. If it was Yeshua, it would be more appropriate. They could talk more. After dinner, the group chatted for a while more before they entered into cultivation. On the path of martial arts, if you don't advance, you will fall behind. This was a principle that everyone knew. Lin Ling also sat cross-legged in the house to cultivate. A diamond-shaped crystal block appeared in his hand. This crystal block was extremely mysterious. Its surface had a fiery red brilliance flowing around it, as if it was drifting in the air like fog. The fire element level crystal. Until now, Lin Ling still did not know how this treasure was formed. However, he knew that it could be used to raise the level of the fire element. Of course, Lin Ling's fire element level was currently 0. Only his demon sword level had reached 60%. Therefore, he did not plan to create another fire element level crystal. Instead, he planned to use it to raise his innate talent and raise his cultivation level. He silently chanted the Chaos Divine formula in his heart. The crystal in his hand quietly dispersed. Clouds drifted and enveloped Lin Ling's entire body. At the same time, the space-time divine steel turned into a mini version and floated above Lin Ling's head, rolling and rotating. That ancient aura also quietly emanated out. It was extremely surging. When the fire element level crystal's power enveloped the space-time divine steel, it was as if a god had taken action, unlocking layers of seals. Time quietly passed just like that. When Lin Ling opened his eyes, ancient runes appeared in his pupils. The space-time divine steel silently merged into his head. This made him realize that the space-time divine steel's innate talent had reached the level of a 7th grade desolate body. This improvement was not small. Chapter 3247. A big operation. But now he had come to the end state. This was the oldest divine prefecture in the land of the 9 prefectures. There were traces left behind by gods everywhere. A 7th grade desolate body was not enough to dominate. However, it was enough to greatly increase Lin Ling's strength. Currently, his 3 Dantians had all reached the 7th grade of desolate body. Only his lightning-type Dantian was still ordinary. It could only provide dense realm essence. His realm has also broken through? After that, Lin Ling checked his Dantian and discovered that his fire attribute Dantian had entered the 8th stage of the half-saint realm. But because of the limited resources, the other 3 Dantians were still in the 7th stage realm range. If I attain the mastery of the half-saint realm, then I'll be able to open my 5th Dantian. Although the other Dantians didn't improve, it still made Lin Ling happy. Then, Lin Ling pushed open the door and walked out. Outside the house, Xiaoyu was talking to Little White Rabbit and Little Deer. Do you guys want sweets? Why don't you eat sweets? It's delicious. Unfortunately, Bunny and Xiaolu did not give Xiaoyu any face. They shook their heads, causing Xiaoyu to pout, her face filled with displeasure. Xiaoyu's cute appearance had undoubtedly amused Lin Ling. Xiaoyu, Little White Rabbit eats carrots. Lin Ling couldn't help but laugh. Brother! Xiaoyu immediately rushed over and hugged Lin Ling's thigh with her 2 little hands. She almost climbed up his thigh and onto Lin Ling's shoulder. Lin Ling shook his head helplessly. He picked up the little girl and placed her on his shoulder. He looked over and saw a woman busily preparing lunch for everyone. It had to be said that her gentle patience had completely moved Lin Ling. Iyuru! Lin Ling made a sound. Big brother Lin Ling. Iyuru immediately turned her head and looked at him with some doubts. If you encounter any difficulties in the path of world spirit techniques, as long as I am able to help you, I will do my best to help you. Really? The spoon in Iyuru's hand subconsciously fell to the ground. Her face was full of surprise. Although the Great Change Nebula sect did not lack some powerful boundary masters, in the face of Miaoshen's true inheritance, the boundary masters were simply not enough. Therefore, in the Great Change Nebula sect, the only person she could humbly seek advice from was Lin Ling. Of course it's true. Seeing Iyuru's excited look, Lin Ling smiled and nodded. Inside the house, Sakura and Meng Lu both smiled at the same time. Lin Ling, this fellow, had finally begun to give pointers to others? In the following days, Lin Ling was extremely free. When he was free, he would visit Yu and the others. Occasionally, he would cultivate and give Yuru some pointers. Of course, Lin Ling was also secretly paying attention to the Heavenly Court. However, he discovered that the Heavenly Court hadn't stopped searching for them. Moreover, he received news that a few more people from the God-slaying alliance had been captured. The news of Iyuru living in the West Mountain had undoubtedly spread to many people in the Great Change Nebula sect, especially Zui Yunfei. He was undoubtedly furious. Until now, he still couldn't understand why Lin Ling and the other 2 had the right to do so. As for the people of the Great Change Nebula sect, the way they looked at Zui Yunfei had quietly changed. A huge green hat was shining brightly on Zui Yunfei's head. This made Zui Yunfei finally realize that Lin Ling and the other 2 had already given him a huge threat. On this day, Martial Uncle He arrived and brought a piece of news. All the major sects in the Yen province have gathered to prepare for a crusade against the great demon sect of the 9 prefectures' 10 evils. Therefore, before the operation, all the sects in the vicinity have to gather. The Great Change Nebula sect has said that all the half-saints will be mobilized. Great demon sect? Hearing this, Lin Ling and the others' faces changed. Lin Ling really didn't know much about the great demon sect of the 9 prefectures' 10 evils. He couldn't help but look at Meng Lu. Meng Lu's face was somewhat solemn as he quietly sent a voice transmission. The great demon sect is said to be a demon from the era of the gods. They once fought against the gods. They are cruel and ruthless. They once stirred up a terrible vortex in the myriad worlds and destroyed tens of thousands of worlds. Like the Creation Alliance, their destructive power is extremely strong. They are also known as the vermin of the 9 prefectures. Hearing this, Lin Ling nodded and looked at Martial Uncle He. I don't know the specifics of the operation. Master just asked everyone to gather. Martial Uncle He said immediately. Martial Uncle He, do you know if the other 9 prefectures' 10 evils will appear? For example, the Immortal Temple. Lin Ling asked urgently. I don't know about this. Perhaps we will only know after the operation begins. Martial Uncle He shook his head. The operation this time was very big. All the famous forces in the 9 prefectures were mobilized. The same was true for the major sects in the Yen province. It was said that the Wangu clan and the Flaming Emperor were also mobilized. This also let him know that this operation was a big one that would shock the entire 9 prefectures. Of course, as an outer elder of the Great Change Nebula sect, the success or failure of such a big operation had nothing to do with him. He was only interested in participating. Okay, then let's participate. Lin Ling, Sakura, and the rest looked at each other and nodded. Although the participation this time was a little dangerous, and it was inevitable that they would encounter people from the Heavenly Court, fortunately, there were many people participating. The Heavenly Court might not be able to detect them. Most importantly, Lin Ling did not want to miss any news about the Immortal Temple. Then let's go to Yuan Villa to gather. Master and the others have already gathered on the other side. Okay. Following Martial Uncle He, Lin Ling and the others left. When they arrived at the Great Change Nebula sect, they found that a large number of people had gathered there. They were led by seniors in the Sage Realm, and the others were young people in the Sage-to-be Sage Realm. When Lin Ling and the others appeared, many people looked at them. This was because after the competition, Lin Ling and the other 2 went into seclusion again. They did not show any pride or complacency. This kind of behavior was extremely puzzling. Are they also qualified to participate? At this moment, an arrogant voice quietly floated out. The person who spoke was Zui Yunfei. At this moment, he was looking at Lin Ling and the other 2 with disdain. There was a trace of anger in the depths of his eyes. People immediately sensed the smell of gunpowder. However, today's order was issued by the sect. Zui Yunfei treated himself as an elder and openly questioned Lin Ling and the other 2. This would probably cause dissatisfaction among the sect's elders. They immediately looked around. Unfortunately, although the seniors here were strong, they did not have much authority. Even Martial Uncle, he did not seem to have the right to speak. After all, Zui Yunfei had met their master. In the future, it was hard to predict. It was possible that he would be a closed-door disciple. However, Martial Uncle he still said, Zui Yun's sect, this is the Great Change Nebula sect's decision. You can't make the decision. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because our master and the other elders are one step ahead. I can't do whatever I want, but at least I have more authority than you. Sure enough, Zui Yunfei was not afraid of Martial Uncle he at all. Zui Yunfei, why are they not qualified to participate? They are the top 10 in the Sage-to-be realm. What right do you have to talk about them? At this moment, a crisp voice was heard. It was a soft voice. Apparently, she knew that Zui Yunfei was targeting Lin Ling and the other 2 because of her. These 3 guys don't even dare to challenge me. They have no courage. Such people are just dazzling for a while. Sooner or later, they will be surpassed by the other junior brothers. If they participate in the action, they will only embarrass the Great Change Nebula sect. However, who knew that Zui Yunfei would immediately shout angrily after Iyuru spoke? Chapter 3248. Yuan Villa. That's just your words. Iyuru was angered by Zui Yunfei's words and said coldly, Iyuru, I'm about to reach the Sage Realm. I know you haven't accepted me yet, but I can tell you that you and I both have the aura of the dragon clan. We will definitely be together in the future. Now, I won't rush you, but I'll tell you in advance that although you're a true disciple of Miao Shen, this is the Yan province. The Flame Emperor has the final say. No one can pursue you except me, unless you plan to be alone for the rest of your life. Noticing Iyuru's attitude, Zui Yunfei no longer paid attention to Lin Ling and the other two. Instead, he said domineeringly and turned to leave. He actually spoke to Iyuru with a tough attitude in front of everyone. This showed that he was really angered by Iyuru and intended to use a tough attitude to get Iyuru. This guy. Zilong and the others couldn't stand it, but when they thought of Zui Yunfei's strength, they finally fell silent. Dream on. Hearing Zui Yunfei's domineering words, Iyuru snorted coldly and walked towards Lin Ling. Idiots. Lin Ling looked at Zui Yunfei's back and laughed sarcastically. He could also see that Zui Yunfei liked Iyuru, but to use such means to pursue a girl? It had to be said that Zui Yunfei's head was kicked by a donkey. He was a trash who only knew how to cultivate and didn't know how to be romantic. Let's go, don't pay attention to that clown, Sakura said. His words shocked everyone. They didn't expect Lin Ling and the other two to be so bold. They didn't care about Zui Yunfei's threat at all. After Lin Ling and the other two left, many people pointed at Lin Ling and the other two. They were all saying that Lin Ling and the other two were overestimating themselves. They didn't know that Lin Ling and the other two were lying low here. The small Grand Change Nebula sect couldn't stop them at all. He followed Martial Uncle He and walked on the ancient continent. He raised his head and looked at the sky. The warriors in the sky were like locusts flying past. They were all half-step saints. They must be the experts from the major forces of the Yan province. It had to be said that this scene was extremely spectacular. Looking from the ground, it was as if there were countless fishes swimming in the sky. From time to time, excited voices could be heard. Clearly, those powerhouses were extremely proud to be able to participate in this operation. This could be considered a huge operation that shocked the entire Yan province. Yo, little guy walking? Are you frightened by our grace? Of course, there were also some arrogant and complacent people. When they saw Lin Ling and the others walking, they suddenly felt a sense of superiority. Hee. Seeing this, Indra smiled. His powerful strength exploded as he punched towards the sky. In the days after the competition, he had also worked hard on his cultivation. Now that he had reached the 9th level of the half-saint realm, the power of that punch was not small. Those arrogant fellows in the sky were immediately intimidated. Ha. Seeing this, Sakura laughed out loud. As for those fellows who fell from the sky, their faces darkened. They had never expected that the few people they had randomly met would be so powerful. However, they were so powerful, but they did not fly arrogantly. Instead, they walked. Such a style of doing things was too unpredictable. Then, they looked at the powerhouses who were flying in the sky one after another and could only leave with their tails between their legs. Not long after, they arrived at a Yuan villa. Lin Ling and the others realized that the villa was bustling beyond their imagination. Not only were there people from the Great Change Nebula sect, but there were also people from the nearby forces. It was as if the younger generation of these forces had gathered here to participate in the mission. Moreover, through the whispers of the crowd, Lin Ling and the others finally found out that the gathering at Yuan Villa today was because the #1 beauty of Yuheng City was coming. Perhaps this was the reason why everyone was gathered here. Lin Ling, you're finally here. As the crowd entered the villa one after another, a voice came from afar. It was Xia Tianyi. At this moment, Martial Uncle He had already left. It seemed that the elders had another place to gather. Yuan Villa was a gathering place for the younger generation. Therefore, Lin Ling and the others also walked towards Xia Tianyi. Tisk tsk. It's so lively. I heard that for this mission, many powerhouses who had been living in seclusion have surfaced. There must be a lot of young people in the half-saint realm. Xia Tianyi looked at Lin Ling and the others and laughed. Isn't Zilong the #1 half-saint realm in the Yen state? So, no matter how many half-saint realm youths there are, it seems useless. Sakura suddenly became curious. TSK, he just gave himself that title. It's undeniable that not long ago, he was indeed the #1 in the half-saint realm. But in the end, didn't Zui Yunfei surpass him? Therefore, in the land of the 9 prefectures, the #1 position can change at any time. This is because the people we are facing are not just the young geniuses of the divine land, but people from all over the world. Speaking of Zilong, Xia Tianyi suddenly smiled disdainfully. Lin Ling nodded. How vast was the land of the 9 prefectures? The strength of the powerhouses could change at any time. Today, you may be the number 1, but in the future, others will surpass you and become the number 1. Without mentioning others, Zui Yunfei was an example. Didn't he also defeat Zilong? I heard that this time, the number 1 beauty of Yuheng City will also come to the Yiyuan Manor. TSK. I didn't expect that our luck is so good to be able to see such a beauty. Xia Tianyi said again. Lin Ling asked curiously, isn't the Yiyuan Manor the gathering place for the half-saint realm youths? It's not strange that she can come here. Of course not. The Yiyuan Manor is only one of the places. There are several other gathering places for young geniuses in other places. Therefore, it's extremely rare for that beauty to come to the Yiyuan Manor. Are there other gathering places like the Yiyuan Manor in other places? This time, the operation is actually so big? That's right. All the famous forces in the land of the 9 prefectures are here. The Flying Dragon Organization, Fuhang Manor, Divine Weapon Mansion, Heavenly Court, Wangu Clan, Miaoshen's True Disciples, Duan Clan, Wangu Clan, and so on. Moreover, I heard that someone from the Wangu Clan is coming to the Yiyuan Manor. It's a guy called Wangu Wuji. I heard that he's very strong. Now that you mention it, it's getting more and more interesting. Hearing that, Lin Ling and the others' eyes lit up. They talked as they walked, and gradually they entered the manor. The manor was very quiet, and there was a huge lake in the middle. The water of the lake was azure, and it looked like a mirror. Lin Ling saw that the lake was extremely extraordinary. It was filled with rootless water, and it was the purest water in the world. When he was cultivating in the rainforest, he had also cultivated with the help of the rootless water. At that time, even a drop of rootless water was a precious treasure. However, there was so much of it here. While waiting quietly, Lin Ling heard that there were a few people who were most famous in the gathering of the Yiyuan Manor. The first was Wangu Wuji from the Wangu clan. The second was Yuheng City's number 1 beauty. The third was Zui Yunfei. The fourth was Shen Muzi. Chapter 3249. The number 1 beauty in Yuheng City. TSK. If the people here were placed in the Qing province, the rainforest's sacred land, or even the myriad worlds, each and every one of them would be a godlike existence. However, in the Yiyuan Manor, they are only ordinary existences. Disher Tian sighed. Humans are like this. When they see an existence that surpasses them, they will bury their sense of superiority deep in their hearts. Lin Ling nodded his head. At the same time, a large number of people entered the manor. The person in the lead was a skinny youth. He wasn't tall, and he was about 1.6 meters tall. However, his aura was extraordinary. The manor instantly fell silent. Wangu Wuji had arrived. The Wangu clan was the number 1 clan in the Flame region. Behind them were the 10 martial gods of the 9 prefectures. Everyone in the clan was said to be the descendants of gods. In the Flame region, no one dared to underestimate them. It was the same even in the Miao prefecture. Is he Wangu Wuji? He is at the peak of the half-step sage realm, but he gives off an unfathomable feeling. After a moment of silence, everyone started whispering to each other. Lin Ling and the others narrowed their eyes. Isn't that the youth who killed the bone-shattering devil elephant with us in the western mountains? So his name is Wangu Wuji. Disher Tian also stared at the skinny youth in shock. As for the skinny youth, he sat down beside the lake. His gaze was cold, and it was as though he was looking down on the world. Everyone who met his gaze quietly lowered their heads. Only a few people did not do so. For example, Zilong and Yi Lingtian. Of course, Zui Yunfei was no exception. Zui Yunfei's lips curled up into a smile as he thought to himself, I am one of the Flame Emperor's men. Wangu Wuji is from the Wangu clan. Wangu Wuji naturally saw the brazen smile on Huang Xiaolong's face. Everyone immediately became expectant. Could it be that the 4 most famous youths were going to clash and produce intense sparks? However, Wangu Wuji was still expressionless as he ignored Zui Yunfei. Zui Yunfei was so angry that his teeth hurt. Was he not allowed to enter Wangu Wuji's eyes? On the other hand, Wangu Wuji's gaze landed on a corner of the lake as he stared at the 3 youths. For the first time, a smile appeared on his face. At this moment, many people's eyes flickered, and they also cast their gazes over. Only then did he realize that the three people Wangu Wuji was targeting weren't even at the peak of the half-true Saint Realm. Even Zui Yunfei, Zilong, and Yi Lingtian's expressions changed when they realized that Wangu Wuji was staring at Lin Ling and the other two from the western mountain. What is going on? Maybe Wangu Wuji is mocking Lin Ling and the others for being weak. Zui Yunfei really couldn't think of a reason, so he could only comfort himself. That should be. Zilong nodded his head. Wuji only Yi Lingtian was frowning. He felt that things were not that simple. Wuji's Wuji nation is sage continent Wuji was sage Wuji was Wuji Wu. The main reason was that he was an expert at the Saint Realm in the past. Unfortunately, his cultivation had declined greatly because he failed in his cultivation. Many people even believed that he would definitely become a cripple. However, he'd made a comeback and forcefully attained the peak of the half-saint realm. One had to admit that this was a ferocious man, because if one failed in their cultivation at the saint realm, then it would be difficult for them to rise again. This was also one of the reasons why he could become one of the 4 strongest people. After he sat down, a large number of figures arrived from the sky. Upon closer inspection, a rainbow hung in the air, extremely gorgeous. More than 10 beautiful figures slowly floated over with bare feet. These women were all extremely beautiful, not one bit inferior to Yuro. Their every movement was like heavenly music floating in the air. Most importantly, there were dozens of such beautiful women. The side of the ancient lake immediately went into an uproar. The eyes of the youths widened. They were people who had traveled through tens of thousands of worlds and had seen countless beauties. However, none of the beauties they had seen in their lives could compare to this. Isn't it said that Miaozhou has the most beauties in the 9 provinces? Are they from Miaozhou? Many youths were somewhat excited. They even flung their hair in an attempt to attract the attention of these beauties. There were even youths who cultivated the Tao of lust. They couldn't bear it anymore. They hid in the small bushes beside the ancient lake and secretly did some wretched things. They are all very strong. Most importantly, they cultivate the same attribute and cultivation realm. If they form a human formation, the power of the spirit formation will definitely be extraordinary. Lin Ling said with admiration in his heart. Second brother, can't you stop talking about martial arts for a day? Can't you appreciate their beauty? Beside him, Sakura said helplessly. Because everyone was admiring the beauties, but Lin Ling thought of the spirit formation. It really made people speechless. The beauties floated down to the ground. Their delicate little feet stepped on the grass on the ground. It made people feel a heartache. They were afraid that the grass would cut the little feet of the beauties. However, those young beauties didn't care about the gazes of the crowd. Instead, they looked at the sky. Almost at the same time, an exquisite and delicate body stepped on the rainbow and walked down step by step. Only then did people notice that there was another beauty. The most frightening thing was that this beauty was actually prettier than all the women before her. She had a peerlessly beautiful face that was unforgettable with a single glance. Moreover, she had a delicate body that was even slightly fat and slightly thin. Her every movement carried a chaotic charm that made people feel that she was no longer a woman of the mortal world, but simply a goddess. She's the #1 beauty of Alioth? I heard that this is a disciple that the Alioth school recruited not long ago. But this disciple's skill surpassed all the other beauties, and in the end, she seized the title of the #1 beauty of Alioth. It should be her. One must know that if one wants to become the #1 beauty of Alioth school, not only does it depend on appearance, it also depends on strength. Actually, it wasn't hard for people to guess the origin of that beauty. Even Lin Ling was staring at the woman that caused the sun and moon to lose their light. His brows slightly creased. Lin Ling, what's wrong? Meng Lu noticed Lin Ling's expression and couldn't help but ask curiously. She gives me a very familiar feeling. I've definitely seen her before. Lin Ling's expression became more and more solemn. He clearly sensed a familiar aura from that beauty. Although that beauty hid it very well, she still couldn't avoid Lin Ling's perception. No, it's a dragon. Finally, Lin Ling's eyes lit up. Moreover, he looked at Iyuru because the latter also had the aura of the dragon clan. However, Iyuru didn't seem to have any reaction. She hid it very well. However, this woman is someone I've seen before. Moreover, she has the aura of the dragon clan. Who exactly is such a person? Lin Ling secretly pondered. Finally, his pupils fiercely trembled. Among the people he knew, The most famous woman who had the aura of the Dragon Clan was none other than that woman. I didn't expect that she would also come. Moreover, she hid her identity. What exactly does she want to do? Moreover, she was clearly crippled by me, but all these years, her strength didn't decrease. Instead, it increased repeatedly. She's really amazing. You're tuning in to the Blimay's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.